Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Kasanova podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, coming at you with two of my most esteemed guests. We've got That Game Collector. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
All right, what's going on with the Kasanova podcast? This is DGC on here for round two with Oso Jiggly and Mekel, and we got some juicy topics to talk about today.
All right, and we also have Mr. Segalacious of Oso Jiggly. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, Mekel? I'm back again with DGC. Really excited to be here. Happy to see you again. How you been, man?
I have been good. Just super busy. I got to review his computer. It definitely was a shock to come home to this yesterday, but
that's a good surprise.
I know, right?
Wait, what'd you get?
So iBuyPower sent me this. I think this is the Trace 941, their newest desktop that they have in collaboration with Best Buy. So this is the second one that they've sent me for review. Because my first tower, huh?
What GPU does it have?
1080. 1080.
Wow.
I haven't really.
He's still doing the review.
Yeah,
he's gonna get all that sorted out.
Well, right, but I mean, a 1080, that's $500 or $600 right there.
I'm not sure because I'm wondering if it's a 10 Ti or not, but I'm not too sure.
Oh, that would be even better.
Well, hey man, if you're running out of room, you could always I could hold those towers for you. It's no problem.
I'll just take the GPU. I need a new one.
All right, so some of the topics that we were going to have today for this is actually going to be one of the first debates that we've had on the channel. Actually, no, the second one. I know, Segalacious, you and I have had a debate before. But as far as gaming topics, this is going to be the first debate that we're going to have with my two guests. And basically, it's going to be two different topics, and we're going to stretch it out. We're going to get everything we can out of the meat and bones of the topic, and then from there, we're going to close it out. So the first topic that we're going to go into, we're going to ask this question, and it can be kind of controversial. It might trigger some of you. I hope you guys have your sodium levels regulated and ready for this. So the question is going to be, which is better, the Nintendo Switch or the Wii U? Now, I want to ask who wants to go first on this?
I think that DGC is making the claim that the Wii U is better than the Switch, so I think the onus is on him to make the case.
Okay.
The burden of proof is on him.
Okay.
All right. So we'll start out with, I ended up getting the Wii U day one, as I do for any Nintendo handheld or console. I'm admittedly a Nintendo fanboy, so I do love them all. They're all near and dear to my heart. That was November 19th of 2012. Still remember the day like it was yesterday. I pre-ordered it, waited in line for 2 or 3 hours. Didn't really need to, but it was just kind of like that hype of waiting in line with your buddy and then picking it up day one and all that good stuff. So I guess I'm kind of going into it a little bit biased. I was out there every day supporting the Wii U. Started the channel with Wii U content. I picked up all the first party titles day one, literally every single one of them day one. For the first 2 years, they did have decent, I'm not going to say good, but decent third-party support, and I picked all those up day one as well just to support the system. Even bought some of the sports games, which I don't like sports games, let's be honest here. I'm a gamer. But still supported them anyway because I wanted to show Nintendo support for their system. I wasn't one of those phony Nintendo fans who just says that they like it and don't, want to support it. I actually supported them through thick and thin with the Wii U. I really did. And for me, I still would have been happy with getting all these games we're getting now on the Wii U. And they could have all ran on the Wii U. The Wii U is not that much less powerful than the Switch. That's already been proven. I mean, Breath of the Wild runs at 720p, and Breath of the Wild on the Switch runs at 900p. So, I mean, yeah, it's slightly better, but that's not night and day where it's 1080p 60 on the Switch. It's only a smidge better.
Better draw distance on the Switch, though, for that game.
Yeah, but there could be something said to that to where Nintendo maybe might have made that other version inferior on purpose.
Ooh.
Nintendo does do things like that sometimes. They have been known to do that. I mean, either way you play that game, it's obviously good. And you know my stance on that game already, Jiggly. But, so for the Wii U, it just, to me, I think it was not ever adopted, and it was never loved enough by the community at large. No one gave it a chance. It wasn't advertised correctly. And, I mean, obviously Nintendo's firing on all cylinders right now. They're advertising like insane and all that good stuff. But to me, the Wii U was just more special. Like, it was just the first time I unboxed it, it was just amazing. And like, I don't know, just everything about it was just more special to me.
Well, I agree that the Wii U is really special. It's really cool. It's very quirky and gimmicky, and I love that. That's why I'm a big Dreamcast and Sega Saturn fan, because those are very quirky and gimmicky. The GameCube with its little handle, and the fact that you can hook up your Game Boy Advance to the GameCube and play different stuff. All that kind of stuff is great. I love that stuff. I'm a huge fan of the Wii U, but I have a hard time. I'm struggling a little bit with the case you're making here of why the Wii U is better than the Switch. I mean, I get why you like it. I get that you supported it. But I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, the Wii U was kind of half-baked. The concept wasn't fully executed all the way. Nintendo didn't really know what they were going for the whole way. It felt very experimental. And it seems like they took what they learned from the Wii U and incorporated it into the Switch more successfully. And so you could see the Wii U as like the springboard for the Switch to jump off from, and like it improved on the Wii U in pretty much every way. Like, well, go ahead.
So one quick rebuttal real quick. For me, I feel like the Switch has an identity crisis. It doesn't know what it is. The Wii U was a dedicated console. The Switch, is it a handheld? Is it a console? It's technically both, but I mean, for me, I would have rather had just a dedicated console and a dedicated handheld, but that's just me.
Well, for me, that's a feature. I felt like the Wii U didn't know what it was because it didn't know if it was a Wii or not. And most consumers didn't either, The Switch, like the fact that it's a handheld and a console, that's a pro of the Switch. People really like that about it. And the Wii U couldn't do that all the way, because when I got the Wii U, I thought, oh, this is great. I love being able to be, playing on my Wii U. And then my wife wants to watch Korean dramas. So I just move it to the gamepad and start playing it on the gamepad. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll just take my gamepad with me. And then I walk 20 feet and the gamepad disconnects. So like that idea of...
Yeah, but it was never designed to take it that far away. But it literally says in the instruction manual, any more than 10 feet, it'll get an interference.
Sure, but it wasn't marketed clearly, like what you were supposed to be able to do with it. And the Switch, like basically everybody who was on board with the Wii U was kind of frustrated that it couldn't fully deliver as a hybrid console, because they felt like that's what it could have been.
But they never advertised it as that, though, so I don't feel like how anybody can be angry
Nintendo
about it.
Never advertised the Wii U properly, period.
Correct.
That's my point. And the reason they didn't is because it didn't have a good centralized focus or a central unifying theme. It was just a very quirky experimental console that was great, and I love it. And it's my personal favorite console of this generation. But I struggle to say that it's better than the Switch, because I feel like the Switch learned from those mistakes, and it just kind of polished that experience and made it more streamlined and more appealing to the mass market.
Well, okay, so for me, the Wii U and Switch are weird systems for me, in the sense that, are they 7th gen consoles? Are they 8th gen consoles? Are they 9th gen consoles? They don't really know what they are. I mean, if you really want to be technical about it, we're already in the 9th generation, and Nintendo started that with the Switch. And Microsoft and Sony are behind without releasing next generation consoles. So that is one thing that I find kind of weird about the Wii U and the Switch, that they're not really... I mean, the Wii U was clearly an 8th gen console, right? Like, it came out first in 2012, then Xbox and PlayStation came out the following year. But with the Switch, I mean, I get it. They had to ditch the Wii U because it wasn't making them any money. And let's face it, no matter what, Nintendo's in it for the money, and that's fine. But with the Switch, I don't know. To me, like, when the Wii U came out, it was powerful enough to meet my standards. But now when the Switch came out, it is so much more inferior compared to things that came out multiple years prior to it. So to me, I think they should have made it an absolute, just like a Wii U too. Change the name, but it should have been similar to that, and then maybe make it to where you could take the gamepad a little bit further, but not necessarily make it a full-on portable.
I don't know, man. I feel like the Switch is kind of a Wii U too, secretly. They just took the Wii U, but like amplified it to the nth degree, renamed it, rebranded it, and went, now you're going to buy this Wii U. It's a Switch, you know?
Well, right, but it's realistically, it's not that much more powerful. They both have 3 gigs of RAM, and it has a shitty Tegra X1 chip, which came out in like 2010 or 2011 in it. I mean, yes, it's technically a custom Tegra that Nintendo got made, but it's really not that powerful. Now, granted, it does leave room for them to do like a Pro and or X situation where they might come out with a new Switch, is what they're going to probably call it, some dumbass name like that. And, you know, and then they might put the Tegra X2 in it, or they might even get a custom Tegra X3 dedicated to Nintendo, right? Because now they're having issues with all these hackers and shit. So they're probably going to have to get NVIDIA to make them a custom chip where it's really baked into the die that, you know, they can't hack into it. Because, I mean, that's obviously a huge thing. Nintendo doesn't want their IPs hacked and all that good stuff. Because Nintendo doesn't really, I mean, none of the hardware companies make their money off the consoles. They mainly make it off of their games, right? And who makes the best games? Let's face it, it's Nintendo.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, time after time, like, they're always polished games. It doesn't matter what franchise they're in, they're always good.
Definitely. But I'm just not quite hearing the argument yet, DGC, because I don't understand why you think the Wii U is better than the Switch. I've heard you talk about why you think the Wii U and Switch hardware-wise are kind of comparable. But, I mean, Mario Kart 8 ran at 720p on the Wii U. It runs at 1080p on the Switch. It's got extra content. Breath of the Wild runs at 900p, you know, better draw distance. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
So for Mario Kart 8, that can just be boiled down to the fact that that was made in the second year of its life, where they didn't understand the architecture necessarily yet, and it was a launch title at this point, basically. I mean, it came out a month after the system came out, so basically say it's a launch title. So, I mean, obviously, it wasn't that difficult to port it up after that game had already been in existence for 4 years. Probably.
Okay, but why do you like the Wii U more than the Switch? Because I'm just giving you some reasons why people would prefer the Switch over the Wii U. Why do you like the Wii U over the Switch? Why is the Wii U better?
I mean, I don't know if I can really put my thumb on it, honestly. Like, it's just like when you turn it on, you're just greeted by like awesome music, and the actual, you know, the gamepad itself is, for me, it's a very comfortable controller. It's lightweight. It's just comfy. You know, you can like sit there and watch Netflix on it, and you know, now that I'm
an hour.
Well, agreed. It's not the greatest thing because it's only 540p, but you know, I don't know. Like, I guess it came for me in the right time in my life where I'd be watching Netflix on like my PS4, and then I'd be playing, you know, 3D World on it, you know, in handheld mode, or, you know, all that stuff. But at the same time, I never take the Switch out with me portably. I really never do. And I mean, I'll take my 3DS out all the time, my Vita all the time, even my PSP at sometimes. But I don't know. It's not really a handheld because it's so damn big for me. Like, you have to put that thing in a backpack. You know, you can't fit that in your pocket. It's just not possible. So to me, it's like this weird handheld. To me, a handheld is something that like I would want to put in my pocket and, you know, be on my business if I do or don't want to play it. With that, you got to pack your backpack, and I don't know. It's just weird for me.
So would you say, like, when it comes to the Switch, that Nintendo basically did the same thing that they did with like the Wii coming off of the GameCube? It's just a slight bump and rebranding, and that the Switch is basically kind of a rebranded Wii U with
basically, yeah.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the Wii is literally just a GameCube with motion controls.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas this thing is basically the same power level as the Wii U. And then now, yes, it has a better portability function. But, I mean, let's be honest. They could have made that thing a little bit more powerful, because come another year or two, they're not going to be getting any multiplats. I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen. And then now, supposedly, the rumor is they're going to get these bullshit cloud streaming stuff. And yeah, that's coming from other YouTubers that I may not necessarily agree with all the time. because I feel as if they spread rumors. But Mekel knows what I'm talking about. But,
yeah, I know.
you know, so I mean, for me, it's I don't know. As a collector, I mean, clearly I'm a collector. Like, the Switch right now is, between the three system, is the most optimal system to collect for, because the games are actually on the cartridge, and typically there's no downloads for them and all that good stuff. But if they're going to jump to a cloud streaming service, yes, that'll be nice, but at the same time,
I'm not on board. That sucks.
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be for that. And like, you know, I'll be if they switch to that full force right now. The library I already have for my Switch, I'm cool with it. I've already got like 30 or 40 physical games. I'm cool with that. But at the same time, you know, that's not for me. So like with the Wii U, when I pick up the game, let's say I go to GameStop and I pick up a game and I look at it, literally the entire game's on that disc, and then I bring it home and I put it in and I just play it. You know, there's no, I don't know. The Wii U just, like, to me, was like the last actual gaming console. It's just easy to collect for, and it's just a more fun system. And I mean, there's just a lot more unique. And I mean, I get it. We're only a little bit over a year into the Switch's library, so it's a little hard to compare these systems. But we could come back to this in maybe 5 years once the Switch is dead, and make this discussion again. But
see, if I get that you're sentimental about the Wii U, because I am too. And I get that it's kind of annoying to see all these Switch lords who didn't support the Wii U all of a sudden talking about how great Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is, when
correct,
we've already played it. And it's like, basically, you're kind of like me, DGC, in that you're being a hipster, and I get that, and I support being a hipster.
No,
but it's just like, everybody likes this mainstream Switch. They should have liked the Wii U. It came first. All these people are just a bunch of Switch lords.
Well,
you know, and you're
so
like,
I forget what video I commented on it about, and I was just like, look, I already bought Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze at $50. I already bought Bayonetta 2 at $60, and then I bought a second copy at $30 just to own it again, because I'm going for a complete Wii U set. So again, I guess my bias is a little bit there on the Wii U, because I love that thing. And, you know, Captain Toad, I bought that day one. Like, nobody supported that fucking game, and it's just like, I love that game. I supported it. And
yep.
You know, Donkey Kong, I supported it day one. I mean, if you guys don't know this, Donkey Kong Country 1 is my favorite and first game of all time. So, like, clearly I supported it. But, like, as you said, these Switch lords that are just jumping on the bandwagon because it's good for their YouTube, because it's the latest and greatest hot system, and then they sit there and pretend that they love it and they're all about it. But it's just like, where were y'all when the Wii U was out? You weren't supporting it. I didn't see your channels showing Wii U love, because I was making the Wii U content. Nobody else was.
Sure, and I get that. And Switch lords are annoying, but you can't blame the Switch, like, for the Switch lords. Like, the Switch is still a really good console. It's still really fun. Yeah. But, like, look, if I could give, because look, I'll make your argument for you. I'm surprised you didn't mention the fact that the Wii U has a very robust eShop.
Well, it does.
And that's one thing to like over the Switch on the Wii U. That's one thing it's got going for it.
Well, so I will give the Switch credit. Navigating the Wii U eShop was never difficult, but it was never ideal. Navigating the Switch eShop is fantastic.
Yeah, except they don't have anything on there that's like, NES, SNES, N64, GameCube stuff. Honestly, the Wii U has all that stuff.
But I'm okay with that as a collector. I already have all those things. I don't need to rebuy them. I already bought them once. I don't need another copy.
I kind of do, because I want to play them on the go. I want to play that stuff on the go.
You can do that. You can buy yourself a PSP Go for like $50 and emulate all those and get them for free.
I'm too lazy to do that. I just want Nintendo to do the work.
Just
take my money and put it on my Switch, and I don't want to work. I just want to give them my money. So, but I mean, that's why that's one reason. That's one thing the Wii U has over the Switch. And also the Wii U is fun. Like, you know, it's got games like Nintendo Land. This is kind of funny because I feel like I'm arguing for the Wii U now over the Switch, but but personally, I mean, like, there are reasons to prefer the Wii U.
Well, right.
But at the end of the day, I feel like the Switch just knew what it wanted to be and is doing what it said it would do, and it's doing it really well, and everybody's loving it, and I love it. You know, I'm not bitter. Like, I'm grateful that the Wii U, like, I'll gladly sacrifice the Wii U for the Switch, even though I love the Wii U a lot.
Nah, I'd rather have the Wii U than the Switch. Like if I had to pick two, or between the two, I'd pick the Wii U any day.
So I would rather have ukulele on the Wii U. I wanted that on the Wii U. I got mad when they canceled that, but
yeah, I was pretty pissed about that too. I actually held out until, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and finally bought a used copy just so they wouldn't get any money out of it. I'm salty sometimes. But look, here's the thing. And then Axiom Verge, that was supposed to come out on the Wii U as well, and it never did. But whatever.
Did it not? I thought it did.
No, it never did. And that's fine. Or it might have came out digitally, but again,
yeah, digitally.
But that's garbage to me. I don't do digital. But for me, if you want to talk about like why like the Wii U does better than the Switch, I mean, let's just list off some games. Zombie U, launch title. Have you ever played it? Have either of you played Zombie U?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the graphics aren't great, but they're not terrible, right?
But that's not the point. The point is the cool gamepad functionality.
Right. The factor of that game that makes it fun is the gamepad and the atmosphere of it. And, so like for launch for the Wii U, I got Zombie U, Nintendo Land came in every Wii U bundle, or the black ones. And then New Super Mario, Assassin's Creed, Ninja Gaiden, and then I got Sonic and Mario All-Stars Racing, or whatever it was called. And so, I mean, I don't know. Like, that was just such an amazing – it was a Sunday. It was such an amazing day for me. And, like, Zombie U, like, such an awesome experience. Like, you can play that on the Xbox One and the PS4 and the PC now, but you're only going to get that amazing asymmetrical, I guess it would be, experience on the Switch. Or I don't even know what you would want to call that. But – and then, like, so, like, Nintendo Land. Like, that was just an amazing experience to play as a group. Mario Party, Amiibo Festival, Smash Bros. Just, like – all these experiences that could only be done on the Wii U. And then like, so they were going to make Metro Last Light for the Wii U, and it was going to use both screens on it somehow, and then have some kind. Have either of you played that game?
Yes,
which one?
I have it.
Metro.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is though?
Metro, the racing game? No, that's Fast Racing Neo.
No, Metro. It's like a Russian apocalyptic game. But either way, so it's a first-person shooter, apocalyptic survival type game. But so they were going to make that for the Wii U. They announced it during like the pre, and it was going to use both screens. And then they were going to do Alien Colonial Marines as well, which a lot of people harp on that game. I actually really enjoy it, but whatever. And again, that was going to use both screens, and then you were basically going to use the gamepad as like a flashlight, and then motion tracker, like in the Aliens movies and all that stuff. And I don't know. There was just so much that the Wii U could have offered us that the Switch doesn't really offer us. Like, what does it really have? How many motion games does it have? It has ARMS and
Splatoon 2.
Yeah, but I mean, the PS4 has that type. That's gyro. It's not really motion control, right? And let's be honest, it's actually 50-50. Some pros play with sticks, some play with the gyros. I know Mekel has one buddy that plays a lot of Splatoon. I mean, I play the crap out of Splatoon, but it's just, I don't know. The Wii U it's just a more special system for me, and I guess that's just I collected for it so hard, and maybe I'll feel this way in 5 years about the Switch, but it hasn't really brought me any real satisfaction aside from Xenoblade X. Like, that was the only game that I really felt.
You mean Xenoblade Chronicles 2?
Oh yeah, 2. I mean, that was really the only game that like really just was like, wow, this is blowing me away right now, and like just really enjoying it. Like Breath of the Wild was okay, but I mean,
Mario Odyssey was huge for me. I know you didn't like it that much, but I loved Odyssey. It was really awesome.
I do want to go back and replay it, but I mean, it was nothing special to me. Nothing really felt special about it.
Oh.
But that could just be the fact that I'm Mario'd out. I mean,
You could be Mario'd out.
I buy every single Mario the day it comes out, every time for whatever system it comes out on.
I never get tired of Mario though. It
doesn't so. I buy the tennis ones, the golf ones, the Mario parties, all the mainstream Mario games. I buy them all, and I want to support them all. And I genuinely liked Odyssey, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it was too much of a change for me. I like getting power ups.
Here's the thing, DGC. I get that you're sentimental. I am too. But here's the thing. This is the last thing I'm going to say on this, because I'm ready to move on to the next topic. I feel like we're kind of going in circles, but I love the Wii U, and that's why I love the Switch, because the Switch is the Wii U, but better. And that's all I have to say.
I strongly disagree. I'm going to say that it's not better, but we can move on to the next topic if you want.
Okay, how about we do this? We give closing arguments. State your case. Like, just close it out on your final word on each.
Okay. Plain and simple. What has the Switch really brought us as far as exclusives in its first year? ARMS, not that great. Odyssey, obviously it's good to most people. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Those are really the big highlights of its first year, right?
Well, yeah, it's only been one. It's only been one. But I'll say
Rabbids.
That's a better launch than the Wii U had. That's for sure. I mean, the Wii U droughts were so horrible, man. I was in the desert.
Right, but that's
for years.
That can also be blamed on third party. Nintendo was relying on them, and they dropped them like a hot potato.
Mario and Rabbids, we got third party on the Switch. I mean, people are on board with it. That's my closing argument.
Okay, but let's be honest here. That game probably was going to be on the Wii U at some point. Nintendo can deny it all they want, but those games were in development for 3, 4, 5 years. They were probably meant to be on the Wii U at one point or another.
Okay, I can give you that.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Here's my final argument. Okay. The Wii U did not understand what it wanted to be. That's why Nintendo couldn't market it correctly. The Switch figured out what it wanted to be. It learned from the Wii U's mistakes. It sold a bunch of units. It's got a huge install base. Games that were on the Wii U that deserved more attention are getting that attention on the Switch. Games that were on the Wii U typically run better on the Switch. Games that are on the Switch sell better than the ones that were on the Wii U. And you can play games on the go fully. The Wii U, you could only do that halfway because it was a half-baked system. The concept wasn't fully realized. In the Switch, the concepts of the Wii U are fully realized. And that's why I feel like the Switch is...
I would have to say Switch Lords is the reason for all of those things you just said. But whatever. We can agree to disagree.
Here, Mekel, I'll kneel. Will you dub me Lord Switch?
Lord Switch.
Sir Switch. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And I have a Wii U gamepad as my shield and a Switch as my sword.
Oh, okay. So Xander Scullion, he's the host of Excess Gaming Podcast on YouTube and iTunes. So he's in the chat right now. And he said, "Why does the Switch rock?" He said, "Because I can take a poop without losing connection." Case closed.
Thank you. I couldn't do that with the Wii U. I got disconnected when I was playing Mario 3D Land. I couldn't drop a deuce when I was trying to get those coins.
I mean, do you guys at least clean your systems after you take them into the bathroom with you, or what? That's kind of gross.
Isn't that what the dock is for? I thought the dock would it's got a little scrubber in there. You just.
No, that's for Bengate from breaking switches.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, okay, I look at it like this. I have to side a little bit with DGC in the sense of the Switch is kind of basically the Wii U 2.0. And I have to agree with both of you that the whole Switch Lords things is kind of annoying because there are people who were just crapping all over the Wii U. I mean, hell, you could even say they were crapping over the latter half or the second half of the Wii. And now all of a sudden, their whole channels and everything about them is about the Switch because it's a hot, popular topic. But if you were to really boil it down and call them out on it, a lot of people are not Nintendo fans like they think they are.
Agreed.
So in that sense, I do feel like a lot of the Switch could have been better. I think the battery life could have been significantly better, but I think the reason the battery is so small is due to the whole Samsung Note 8 fiasco with the battery. I think they probably made it smaller just because they didn't want that kind of a situation going on.
I would say it was more of a cost thing.
It's hard for Nintendo to compete with Samsung and Apple for chips, for mobile chips.
Yeah. Very true, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the partnership with NVIDIA for the Switch was a good choice because NVIDIA got really – okay, so NVIDIA made the chip for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox. AMD did the GameCube. They did the Wii, and then they did the 360. NVIDIA did the PS3. And then NVIDIA got dropped for the Xbox One and the PS4. And then now NVIDIA obviously wants a fighting chance back in that market. So I think that the Switch 2, or like the Switch Pro or whatever they're going to call it, is I think it will be what I finally wanted from what the Switch is. So I am hopeful for that in the future.
Here's the deal, guys. I play my Wii U games on my Switch. I play my Wii games on my Wii U. I play my GameCube games on my Wii.
Which is
that's how it is.
I mean, here's the other thing. I was kind of shocked that neither one of you guys brought it up as an argument, but the modular nature of the Switch.
I don't know what modular nature means. I'm sorry. Could you
like
educate me?
you can add on to it. I mean, like you're looking at like the Joy Cons and whatnot. Like it's very modular as a system in the sense.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. So, if the Wii U had that feature, I feel so. Like since you can't, like obviously, you need to put it into the dock to play games on, right? Like there's no other. Well, actually, I guess you could put the Joy Cons into things. So, like if they were to make like a fishing rod attachment, and you could put the Joy-Con in it, that'd be kind of badass, honestly.
Actually, right? Nintendo Labo has it.
Yeah. Well, right, but I'm talking about like a real one, like an actual plastic fishing rod, and then you put it in there, or you know, that like I mean, yeah, they have the crappy little Mario Kart steering wheels and all those other little things, but I mean,
yeah, I mean, the modular, just take some Wii game or Wii controllers, glue them to the side of your gamepad. Not modular. There's like 1,000,001 controllers you could put on the Wii U.
Which was kind of annoying, I'll be honest about that.
I liked that about it. I thought it was hilarious.
It's cool, but it's kind of annoying. So like with, and one thing that Nintendo really should have done, and they still can do to appease fans of the Wii U, they should have given us support to use the GameCube controllers on any game we wanted. Because as of right now, you can still only use it on Smash Bros. Which is really kind of stupid in my opinion.
Fair enough.
I love can't argue with that.
they're both in my heart. I like both of them, but I really like the Switch. I get that people are mad that the Wii U wasn't as successful as it deserved to be. It did deserve better, but don't blame the Switch for that. It's not the Switch's fault, and it's not betraying the Wii U to love the Switch. You can love both. So that's how I feel about it.
You know, what I find amazing is the hypocrisy in the people that are giving Switch ports of Wii U games such high praise and high scores. And yet, if you were to go, like case in point, if you look at IGN, how they kind of crapped on Tropical Freeze when it first came out, now they give it a great review. So, I mean, it's that level of hypocrisy to me that is annoying. Because I'm like you guys, like I supported the Wii U day one when it came out. I got all the exclusives. I remember picking up Mass Effect 3 Special Edition, Tekken Tag Tournament, Wii U Edition.
Yeah, boy. I remember
getting all those games they want. I still have them. I still play them. And it's like there was no support. So it's the fan base that really, really annoys me when it comes to transitioning from Wii U to the Switch. So
Agreed.
So I guess we have beat that topic to death.
Yes. And, beat it to Wii U. It's dead.
Hey, we didn't beat it to the Virtual Boy levels.
No, that's true.
Beat it like that Switch dog beats up Switches.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we can go into our next topic, which is it might be a little controversial. So again, check sodium levels, people. What is, in your guys' opinion, what is the most overrated console of all time?
Should I start with this? I've got this ready for you guys in case you need it.
I got water, so I'm ready.
Okay, good. All right. Here's where I'm going to go with this, and I know this is going to hurt everybody's feelings, but I want to start with the definition of overrated. Overrated is to hold something in a higher opinion than is deserved. So I'm talking about a system that people love more than it deserves to be loved. Okay. And that is the Sony PlayStation 2.
I thought you were going there.
Yeah, you thought I was going there.
I'm not going to say that I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the deal. Let me start with some pros. PS2, great JRPGs. I mean, it kept that going from the PlayStation 1 also.
They've always had that, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's because Bernie Stoller didn't want to put the JRPGs on the Saturn in America, so you know.
No, it's just
yeah.
Well, yes, okay, but it's also more or less
in America and not on
also the Saturn just more or less because it's a Japanese company and like they have a very big honor system, and they just put all their RPGs on all of the PlayStation platforms.
I'm just saying, in the West, if you wanted JRPGs, there was only one place to go. It was the Sony PlayStation. It could have been the Saturn if it wasn't for Bernie Stoller. But I digress. JRPGs, you know, those are great on the PS2. God of War, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, Kingdom Hearts, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, The fact that it's backwards compatible with the PS1 is great. It had Virtua Fighter 4, only console port of that. So that was, and I missed out on that because at the time I was boycotting the PS2. Because I used to be
Why was that?
I used to be a Sony hater, but I stopped. Why? I stopped being a Sony hater because Sony helped kickstart Shenmue 3. So I love you now, Sony. That's why I bought a PS4. That was my first PlayStation system, was the PS4. But the point is, there's a lot of things to like about the PS4 or the PS2. And I'm not saying that it doesn't deserve high praise. I'm just saying that it received more praise than it actually deserves. Okay. And I'm going to explain why it doesn't deserve to be considered the greatest console of all time. But everybody universally considers it to be the greatest console of all time, which makes it the de facto overrated console, because to me it's not. And here's why. Okay, so you guys want to hear these?
Well, real quick, who are you saying refers to it? You say everybody refers to it as the greatest console of all the time.
You mean like the top 10 list that it always pops up on, or?
I suppose. I just I guess I'm speaking a little bit over generally. I'm overgeneralizing, but
right.
But in general, if I'm going to generalize, I'll just say, yeah, I'm generalizing, but typically people consider the PS2 to be the greatest system of all time. It's the highest selling system of all time. It's the most successful system of all time. So
let's go. Let me ask you this, though. I want to ask both of you guys this. Just a quick question and a simple answer. Mekel, what is your favorite console?
Oh, man. Why
yes,
can't you put me on the spot?
I think I know the answer to this.
I do too. It's the PS2.
No, it's the TurboGrafx.
Hell no.
Oh, what?
Actually,
it's a 3DO.
Actually, no. I actually had to say it is a TurboGrafx.
Nice.
Because
you grew up with it.
Yeah. I grew up with it. I was able to play a lot of games like the Ninja Ryukiden or Ninja Gaiden. Was really great on it. Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, the Japanese version was super amazing. And it's never had a Western release. It just feels like games that came on it, especially Ease, like you were in the Ease 1, 2, and 3 back then. Games had like that flair because you had really great graphics for the time. Plus, it had the anime cutscenes with the voice acting. And it was just something that was not done at the time. That's to me, like I just wish it had support here in America, and it just didn't. But
you still got one?
Yeah, at my mom's house.
That's cool.
I need to go and get it.
I've always wanted to play one. They're pretty neat.
I've never played one.
I'd love to play one. But.
So Jiggly, Segalacious, what is your favorite system of all time? Again, I think I know the answer to this.
Well, you're kind of derailing the podcast here because I want to talk about why the PS2 is overrated. And then when I'm done,
I just want to know why it's your favorite system, and then you can.
Well, I'll tell you after I tell you why the PS2 is overrated. Okay. So here's why the PS2 is overrated. Number one, it's not very quirky. Like, it's very generic, very safe. It's more like a multimedia platform than a quirky gaming system. Like its competitors, the Dreamcast and the GameCube, even the Xbox, they were quirky. They did weird things. The Sony PlayStation 2 didn't really do anything like that. It's ugly. That is one ugly system, the PS2.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with playing games? I don't look.
I'm just saying it's ugly. I don't like it. Aesthetically, it sucks. Number three, it was actually hard to develop games for it, which really annoys me because nobody supported the Saturn because it was hard to develop games for. But suddenly when Sony comes out with a system that's got a huge steep learning curve for developers, all of a sudden that's okay. It's okay when Sony does it, not when Sega does it. That's annoying to me. In fact, Lorne Lenning, who created Oddworld, he's one of the co-creators of Oddworld. He actually, what's the name of that guy who's like the head console architect for Sony? It was Ken Kutaragi, right?
Mark Cerny, right?
No, that's PS4. I'm talking about Ken Kutaragi. Yeah, Ken Kutaragi. He got that Lifetime Achievement Award a little while ago, and the loudest voice in opposition to him getting that Lifetime Achievement Award was Lorne Lenning, because Lorne Lenning said that he was ticked off at Ken Kutaragi for the PS2's architecture because half the developers at that time lost their jobs because they couldn't meet the deadlines for the PS2. But everybody went and bought the PS2, so that's who developers had to develop for, and it was really hard. You know, compared to the Xbox and the Dreamcast, it was really hard to develop for the PS2. So architecture is pretty overrated for developers. It had a lot of faulty systems at launch. Like there were so many. My friend bought like 3 PS2s that were lemons. That was so irritating.
Yeah, but that can happen to any console. That you can't hold that against it. That literally can happen to any.
I can and I will, sir.
But you can't.
Yes, I can. I just did.
My cousin bought a Switch, and the AC adapter didn't work out of the box day one. Okay. I don't hold that against Nintendo, nor does he. It can happen to any electronic.
I hold it against the PS2 because it just wasn't quality. It wasn't as high quality as people claimed it was. You know. Also, the picture quality of the PS2 totally sucks.
Now, are you referring to that as a standard back then or a standard to HD TVs now?
I'm referring to the fact that the Dreamcast VGA has better picture quality than the PS2.
But that's
referring to the fact
and I feel like
no, it's not irrelevant. I'm referring to the fact that the Sega Saturn has better picture quality than the PS2.
That is not true whatsoever.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Are we going to go into a resolution battle? Because
I'm not saying resolution. I'm saying picture quality. Like the PS2 is really muddy. It doesn't clean up very nicely. The PS2 is the hardest console to clean up. Have
you ever played Killzone?
Yeah, I've played Killzone, but I'm just saying in general, the PS2 doesn't clean up as well compared to the Sega Saturn and Sega Dreamcast and the Xbox 360. The PS2 does not clean up as well. The picture quality it's kind of muddy. It's kind of gross. So,
did you say it's due to like optimization issues?
Optimization issues, as in like the fact that sometimes it'll like a title screen will be in 480i, and and then it'll switch over to 240p and make it hard to. Yeah, like for frame monsters. Well,
right, but even current gen consoles still do that to this
still do
day.
that. No, that's not really what I'm going for.
You can't really use that as an argument.
Well, I didn't make that argument.
Well, but I'm saying I don't know. I feel like the arguments you're making against it are kind of just more or less personal arguments. Like
it's not a personal argument that the PS2's picture quality doesn't clean up as well as the Dreamcast and Sega Saturn.
The only reason the Dreamcast does VGA simply is because it was easier for them to port things from the arcade, because most arcades back then were running in progressive scan in Japan.
Well, see, but that's great. That's one reason why the Dreamcast has better architecture than the PS2. Like I just like it better.
But in reality,
developers did too, and it looks better. It has aged better. The PS2's picture quality has aged worse than the
right. But that was
the Xbox, the Dreamcast, and the Sega Saturn.
They didn't foresee the times though, because the PS2 can display progressive. However, there's only 9 games that actually display 480p. All the other ones only display in 480i, whereas Dreamcast has 260-ish games. Most of them can display in RGB and or in progressive, which is awesome. Maybe Sega did really see the future. Who knows? I certainly don't, and we'll probably never know. But yeah, I mean, the PS2
there's a far cry from what the PS2 can do theoretically and what it actually did do. And what it actually did do was worse than what the Dreamcast, Xbox, original Xbox, and Sega Saturn did. And that's why it's overrated. That's a point that I'm making. The picture quality of the PS2 is overrated compared to other consoles who have aged better. Now, I also want to point out that it had a crappy launch compared to the Dreamcast. Okay. So like the PS2, it launched with like here's the good games that it launched with, because it had like something like 29 games it launched with, which is a pretty good number. But when you actually look at the games, the only ones that are really worth it are like Tekken Tag, Time Splitters, Summoner, SSX, Ridge Racer, Midnight Club, Dynasty Warriors 2, and like Madden 2001.
So Dead or Alive 2 is not a good launch title?
Well, not really, because it was already on the Dreamcast. So it's like, what's the point?
But this was a superior version to that.
No, it wasn't, because it doesn't clean up as well picture quality wise. And that's my whole point, is that when you're like, hey, I want to play the definitive version of a game. If you want to play the definitive version of a game, you don't go, man, you had to play that on the PS2 because that's just
realistically
the best way. But you never do that.
But that's beside the point. But
Well, that's what I'm saying. PS2 is not the place to go. You always go somewhere else to play the best version.
Back in the day, nobody used that back in the day because no one really knew about that back then. Versus 480i interlaced as an argument to where it's worse. Now, I will say this: I just picked up a Sony Trinitron, and now I can hook up my PS2 via component cables to it directly. And my God, do those games look absolutely amazing, because the PS1 and PS2 were designed with component cables in mind to be hooked up to Sony's actual TV, and they look fantastic on those.
I mean, I get why you want to allow the PS2 to borrow from the Dreamcast's greatness to make its launch look better, but at the end of the day, that's all it's doing, is it's borrowing from better consoles. So here's the thing. The Dreamcast at launch had Power Stone, Mortal Kombat Gold, Soul Calibur, Ready to Rumble, Sonic Adventure, Blue Stinger, Hydro Thunder, House of the Dead 2, Arrow Wings, NFL 2K. I mean, that was a way, way better launch than the PS2. So the PS2 didn't deserve to have such a stellar launch result that it actually was able to have. So like the Dreamcast should have had all the sales because it had all the games. There are two main reasons why the PS2 had such a successful launch and had gained a huge install base and basically dominated the market. It was for two reasons: lies and gimmicks. Okay. The lies were they told everybody that the PS2 was going to make everything Toy Story graphics, which wasn't true. They exaggerated. Yeah. And secondly, it was a DVD player.
Well, I'm not going to deny that, but the PS2 itself is a business, right? So you got to do whatever you can to get an upper hand. They clearly knew at the time the lurking shadow of the original Xbox was coming. Nobody can deny that that system is literally 3 times as powerful as the PS2, right? They knew that was coming. So clearly they were going to lie about it. I mean, as a consumer, I don't really agree with it, but from a business standpoint, can you really blame them?
No, look, I don't blame them for, all is fair in love and war, as they say, I get that they're a business, they want to make money, but the point is it didn't deserve to be as successful as a game console. This is what I'm saying. It's an overrated game console. Sony did a good job of marketing it, but what was actually there was overrated as a game console. So I think that even if you look at the launch of the Dreamcast versus the launch of the Sony PlayStation 2, you can see that the Dreamcast deserved more love than the PS2 did at launch as a games console. But even if you look at the Dreamcast where it was when the PS2 launched, it's really interesting because I recently watched this video by a little-known YouTuber named Vince19. Have you guys heard of him?
No.
I was referred to him by another channel called The Geek Critique. And basically, he's got a somewhat competent grasp of statistical analysis, and he looked at all the data of sales and marketing and stuff from that generation of consoles with the Dreamcast and PS2, and he noticed that there were 4 games that coincided with the launch of the PS2 that actually came out for the Dreamcast. And those 4 games that came out all around the same time were Shenmue, NBA 2K, Tony Hawk 2, and Jet Grind Radio. And he calls that the Hazuki Wall because that was the last line of defense to defend against the PS2's launch. It was like saying, okay, we had a better launch than the PS2, but also we've got this solid wall of 4 games, that those 4 games are actually better than that launch of 39 or 29 games that the Dreamcast or the PS2 even had. But people still bought the PS2 over the Dreamcast and ignored the Hazuki Wall, and it fell because of a gimmick, because it was a DVD player and people wanted DVDs. And so it overshadowed the Dreamcast. And it wasn't even because people were buying it as a games console. They were buying it as a multimedia device. So that makes it overrated.
Okay. DGC, floor is yours.
All right. So I do want to kind of rebuttal, and then also for clarification's sake, Dave and I are good buddies. We are. Yeah. We do kind of argue like brothers, but this has been actually an argument that we've been having personally in text message form for probably about a month or so now. I just feel as if, it's literally the name of your channel or your segment of your channel, Segalacious. You clearly have a strong Sega bias. You, whether you want to admit it or not, are a Sega fanboy. I'm not going to, now hear me out. I'm not going to deny that the PS2 is probably, if not is, the most overrated console of all time, right? I'm not going to argue with you with that because, frankly, I got one maybe 2003, and I've only ever owned maybe 25 games for it. And I'm a huge collector, so I mean that kind of says something about its library. But it's it is an overrated system, but I think you hold a lot of resentment toward them because they did in fact kill the Sega Dreamcast.
Well, no, I don't agree with that because actually Sega killed itself. Sega killed the Dreamcast. It wasn't the PS2.
Right, but it certainly didn't help that they got dominated in sales within like 6 months or less by the PS2.
Yeah. Well, because it didn't have a DVD player. It wasn't because of games.
I could kind of agree with that. So, like, here I am looking at the launch titles, like you said. Yes, you got Power Stone, Mortal Kombat Gold, Soul Calibur, Sonic. Those are all 4 amazing games. Then you've got Expendable, awesome game as well. Blue Stinger, great game. Trick Style, awesome. Hydra Thunder, love that game. Tokyo Extreme Racer, again, awesome. Flag to
House
Flag,
of the Dead 2
racing game. Monaco GP2, great. Pen, awesome. And TNT Motorsports Hardcore Heat, House of the Dead 2, Air Force Delta, Arrow Wings. And so literally, I'm not going to lie to you. Every single launch title in that I own and are all amazing games. I can't even lie about that. Every single one of them, even the sports games. Because sports games were actually fun on the Dreamcast because of the VMU. And as far as the PS2's launch, in this launch, if I were to look at this as a day one buyer, SSX, love it. Ridge Racer, love it. Silent Scope, love it. Street Fighter, probably would have bought it. Tekken Tag, probably would have bought it. Unreal, probably would have got that as well. Gun Griffin Blaze, hell yeah. DOA, again, hell yeah. But that's pretty much it. So, yeah, that launch is pretty terrible. I'm not going to lie to you about that. And I will agree with you that this is something him and I have talked about personally. The PS2 controller is it's kind of a piece of junk. I'll be honest about it. The PS1 controllers, they kind of are shitty.
They're a little whack.
They're just really flimsy, and they're just not built well. They're just they're kind of junk. Let's be honest about it. They're expensive junk too, because back in the day they were $60. So I will give you that. And the Dreamcast controller is probably one of my favorite controllers of all time. But you know, I agree with some of the points you made, and some of the other ones, like for future-proofing the system, there's no way Sony could have known that HD TVs were going to be a thing. I mean, yeah, literally Sony probably did know that, but they didn't actually future-proof that into the PS2, or maybe they just didn't care because as a cost-effective measure at the time, it was probably easier to make 480i games than it was to make 480p progressive games, right? So, yes, Dreamcast had all that stuff, and yes, it looks better on HD modern TVs, but I don't really think Sega did that on purpose to future-proof it and make it, you know, a collector's piece and this, that, and the third. But
they were ahead of their time. I think they were trying to be future-proofing their consoles. I really do.
Well, why wouldn't they have put a DVD player in if they were going to try to future-proof it? Because they knew
because they had a focus. Like, they stayed on message. They were like, okay, the narrative is we are a dedicated gaming console. We bring the arcade experience home. That's what we do. We're Sega. We're not going to mess around with multimedia stuff. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to do one thing well. You know, like Five Guys. Why doesn't Five Guys sell chicken instead of burgers? Well, we do one thing really well. You know, like we just make burgers. It's kind of like the same with the Dreamcast. We make good games.
Why did you have to bring up Five Guys? Now I'm hungry. Now I've
got
to go
right?
to the other side of the island to get some Five Guys.
I got to be honest. I don't think Five Guys is all that great.
Well, it's just an example, but I know. Like it's interesting because I get, and by the way, I want to apologize to Liquid Metal if I came across like an obstinate brick wall fanboy, and sorry DGC, I saw your comment about me being having rampant fanboyism, but it's interesting because I don't really feel refuted, because all that really happened after my rant was you guys said you're a fanboy, but everything you said is true. It's like, well, okay, that's kind of ad hominem a little bit. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm a fanboy or not, but I contest that I'm not. I do not have a Sony bias. I actually
really do, though.
No, I don't, because you guys are assuming that the Sega Dreamcast is my favorite console, but it's not.
But what is it? I asked you the question, and I wanted to know that.
The Sega Saturn.
He did ask you that question, though.
The Sega Saturn.
Right, but that's still.
But you asked it at an inappropriate time because I was still giving. We weren't on that topic. You interrupted the flow, the minutes there. So, but yeah, it's the Sega Saturn. And the Sega Saturn doesn't have anything to do with the PS2. I mean, directly, anyway.
But you were comparing it earlier. So,
well, I'm just pointing out that the fact that, you know, a console that people scoff at, you know, for its graphics and stuff still cleans up better than the PS2, which people think is so great. I was just making a point that even consoles that were, you know, last gen.
I mean, if you want to get down to that, no, the Sega Saturn and the Genesis have some of the worst composite video.
Oh no, you're wrong, sir.
No.
The Genesis has bad composite, but not the Saturn. Saturn has really good composite.
No, it definitely doesn't.
Okay, look up My Life in Gaming, and
I've literally talked to those guys before. I don't need to look it up.
The components really good on the Saturn.
I have a Framemeister. Like I know what I'm talking about here, my man. They both have terrible composite. They just do.
No, not the Saturn. I'm sorry, it really doesn't.
Like
Saturn doesn't have bad composite.
So I will admit to you, like the Dreamcast on composite on my Trinitron, it looks fantastic. It really does. And I mean, you obviously can't hook up VGA to a TV. So for it itself, like it does look good on, you know, on an old school TV.
Here, look, I want to prove to you guys, I'm not a hater. Like I have a PS4, I have a fat model PS3. Here's my PS2 Slim. I play it, I enjoy it, I like it. It's a good system. It deserves to be loved. You know, it deserves high praise. It's a good system. It has really good games. There's a lot to love about it. I'm just saying it doesn't deserve to be on the pedestal that it's on. And it's the least deserving of that pedestal of all the consoles. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But do you guys want to hear a funny story about when I was a Sega hater?
You mean 5 minutes ago you decided to change that you weren't a Sega hater anymore, or what?
No, you're the one that called me a Sega hater. That's ad hominem. Like if you can't, I get that you can't beat my argument, so you're attacking me as a person.
I'm not. I just have tons of text message proof that just proves that you are.
It's the ad hominem fallacy. But okay, those were jokes though. I just like joking around to get your goat about the Saturn, about the Sony. But so when I was in 4th grade, there was this girl who came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I think you're a babe." I was like, "Oh, really?" She's like, "Yeah, do you want to come to my house after school and play video games?" And I was like, yeah. Why didn't you say that in the first place? You should have led with that, you know? So, so we went to her house and I was like, man, I can't wait to play some Genesis, or I can't wait to play some Super Nintendo. And then she had a PlayStation 1 and I was like, what is this abomination? And she's like, oh, this is a PlayStation. It's really fun. And we started playing it. And I was like, this is garbage. This is awful. It's an affront to humanity. And she's just like, no, it's really fun. I swear. And I was like, I'm sorry. I can't do this. This isn't working. I'm going to leave. She was like, what? Why? And I was like, because I can't be with someone who likes Sony.
So, I mean, that's kind of like, I mean, yes, that was, I guess.
That was 4th grade.
But that kind of further proves the bias, though, right?
No, because I was in 4th grade. I'm a grown up now. I don't care about, you know, teams. Like, it's dumb to have brand loyalty to a company.
No, it's really not, though, because I had this conversation with Mekel quite a while ago.
Okay, I remember.
Okay, so think about this. Who here watches football? Who's your favorite football team?
Oh man, this is gonna get me even more hate.
Just pick one.
No, well, I have a favorite. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, great.
But they
Mekel,
suck.
who's yours?
I don't even watch football.
Okay, I don't either. But if I picked one, both my parents like the Redskins because I live in Maryland. Okay, great. So that's the team you vote for, right? Like my team is the Nintendo team. That's the team I vote for. That's the team I want to always win. That's who gets my jimmies in a row when I'm at E3, right? Like that's who I want to see stuff from.
I'm excited for this E3.
Right? So like for me, I don't really see a problem with fanboyism, but at least I'll admit that I have a Nintendo fanboyism.
You know, but here's the thing, like I own all the consoles. I like them all. You know, I like the PS2. I'm not a hater. Like I don't have a bias against it. I'm just saying that it's not as great as everybody says.
I mean, I own a Wii and an Atari 2600, but I don't like them. I think they're junk.
Oh, I like the Wii. I think it's pretty cool. But you know, that's the thing is like Sony might be my least favorite company as far as video games go, but it doesn't mean I don't like them. Like I'm glad they're there. You know, I want them to be in the console race because they make really good games, you know, and I feel like we as as like, since this is our hobby as enthusiasts, we would be on the whole, we would be poorer as a hobby without Sony there. And I don't want Sony to go away. I wish Sega didn't go away, because we've lost a lot from the gaming landscape with Sega bowing out of the hardware race, and so I don't like to see that happen. When companies thrive and compete, we win, so I like Sony. I want them to be successful. I don't want them to go anywhere.
I agree with everything you just said. One thing that I kind of wish would happen, and this is going to be a pretty big shocker probably, being that I do a ton of Xbox original videos. I don't want Xbox in the race anymore. I think their time has come and gone. I think they need to bow out. I think they're done. I think they cannot compete anymore. I know that isn't necessarily on the topic that we're on right now, but for me, I think they have kind of overstayed their welcome. They're not really doing anything different anymore, and they're just kind of so I guess what I'm kind of leading into that I just really don't like the Xbox brand as much anymore. But for my overrated console, I'm going to have to go with the PlayStation 1.
Yay! I'm not biased.
So for me, I'm more into the collecting scene than the both of you guys are. You're obviously into it, but I'm like pretty hardcore into it. But the PlayStation 1 is basically seen as like the end-all, beat-all collector's console, at least right now. Like everyone collects for that thing. Everybody's always hot on its nuts. It's basically like the NES was about 10 years ago, where everybody got all hyped up for it. With the PS1, I would say that between the 64, the Sega Saturn, and the PS1, to me, I like the 64 the most because I'm a Nintendo guy. Now that I have all three, the Sega Saturn is my second because it just does all the arcade stuff perfectly. And the PlayStation 1, really all it has left from a collecting standpoint and a then standpoint when it was relevant was really just all of its RPGs. And as he said earlier, Sega didn't get them because of Bernie Stolar, but I was never really an RPG guy until recently. So like if I had had a PS1 at the time, I don't even think I would have been happy with that console because even at the time, I had a friend who had it. Those games looked like ass to me. Mm-hmm. Now they still look like ass to me. The control, like the PS1 control, the original controller without the thumbsticks, is a garbage ass controller, right? And then they added the thumbsticks in and it added more meat to it, and it was heftier and all that good stuff. So it was a little bit more comfy to hold. But I mean, the PS1 just in general was just not that great of a system. I got to be honest. And I didn't even talk to him about this prior to bringing this up, and he didn't know about it. But the PS1 to me, like everybody just praises all these RPGs on it, and yeah, some of them are good. Don't get me wrong, but they're not like the greatest things since sliced bread, right?
Even Lunar, like the Lunar games, they're still better on the Sega CD and the Sega Saturn than they are on the PS1. It's just we play it.
Well, that's because of convenience in America.
That's it. Yeah, you're right, because it's localized, but the voice acting is kind of bad. By the way, guys, I cannot keep a straight face because of Liquid Metal's comments. Oh my gosh.
What did he say?
He said we're a runaway train wreck that he can't look away from, and it's like watching your wife give birth. It's beautiful, but it's a bloody mess.
Interesting. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I guess it's kind of a combo tag team here a little bit. You're kind of going with it as a little bit of a bias, and I'm not harping on you for that. That's fine that you have one.
I protest. I do not have a bias against Sony because I forgave them for Shenmue.
But I mean, that's literally saying that you're okay with the bias you had because they finally gave you the one game that you wanted.
No. I think that was dumb of me to have a bias against Sony and boycott
it was incredibly. You missed out on a ton of games.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's dumb to have a bias.
Literally hundreds of games, hundreds of exclusives.
Well, not hundreds, because a lot of them came over to the Xbox and the GameCube and stuff like that.
Nobody even currently knows. There's no list for how many exclusives the PS2 has. It's probably hundreds. There's literally 2,500 North American games for PS2.
Well, and even as a Sega fan, and actually, here's the weird thing. I'm gonna expose myself here. I know my handle is Segalacious. I do love Sega. The Saturn is my favorite console, but Sega is not my favorite gaming company. Nintendo is my favorite gaming company. But You know, it's like I missed out on Sega games.
But that kind of doesn't even
That
make
came
sense.
out. No,
Like,
it doesn't make.
How can one console be your favorite, but that's not your favorite company? That doesn't.
Well,
I mean, like the GameCube's my favorite.
It's like
Nintendo's
saying
my favorite company.
Well, it's like saying my favorite team is the Chicago Bulls, but my favorite sport is football. You know, like I don't know. It's just a different.
No, that
thing.
doesn't. I don't. That doesn't really make sense to me, though.
Well, maybe that's not a good analogy, but it doesn't need to make sense to you. Like on the whole, Nintendo makes the highest quality games and the largest volume and quantity, and so they're my favorite gaming company. They still make really quirky, interesting toys and games that I think are really fun and cool, and I like them. My favorite game of all time is Ocarina of Time. You know, I love the N64. You know, I'm right there with you. I thought it was really good. And you know, I just bias is dumb. It's dumb to pick sides. It's dumb to pick teams because I missed out on really great Sega games that came out on the PS2 and PS3. You know, what was that game? Valkyria Chronicles or
Badass.
Yeah. Then there's the Shinobi game that came out on PS2 was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Virtua Fighter 4 came out on the PS2. You know, like I missed out on that stuff. You know, and so you know, it doesn't pay to be a hater. Like you know, don't hate on systems.
Well, I mean,
unless they deserve it, like the PS2. That's all.
Like for literally the last 3 generations, I've had all 3 consoles during their generations, and even the handhelds I've always had. Ever since I had my own money, I always bought them all so that I wouldn't miss out on games. That's just me on a personal level. Because I don't want to miss out on something. I mean, I don't really care what system it's on. I just want to play it. Like right now, the PS4 has like. I mean, let's be honest, their exclusives are absolutely destroying Xbox. I mean, they're just firing on all cylinders. And
they do have good exclusives, but their exclusives aren't as good as Nintendo's. Like they're not the company with the best exclusives.
I might even have to disagree on that one a little bit.
I don't know, man. Like Bayonetta, Mario 3D World,
turned down
Mario Odyssey,
God of War 4, right? So,
I mean, God of War 4
until you play that game.
Breath of the Wild got a 10 out of 10 too, you know.
That's irrelevant to me right now. I'm not talking about that.
I'm talking about exclusives.
Until you play God of War 4, you don't know a good game.
Yeah,
what I'm going to say.
God of War 4 is a really good exclusive. I'll admit that. It's one though. That's all.
Is that it? Literally, will probably be that game changer that we needed, because everything I've played since then has just bored me. Nothing makes me feel that excitement anymore after playing that game. Everything, and that's probably why I'm not enjoying Ys 8. Because everything I'm playing after God of War 4 is just not good.
I have a controversial opinion about God of War.
Mekel doesn't like it.
Hit us with it, Mekel.
Well, the reason I dislike it is because coming off of the heights of 1, 2, and 3, I'm not going to include Ascension or the other 2 PSP games.
Why? I thought Ascension was good, but continue.
I mean, from narrative standpoint, I didn't.
Agreed, but the gameplay was good and the graphics were good. But okay, continue.
But you know, my whole reason for disliking God of War 4, like okay, let me put this in perspective. I enjoyed it for the thematic, like the value, production values. It was really a very good cinematic experience. My problem with it, when I went back and I reassessed it, I'm like, how many freaking times did they have to reuse that first boss over and over and over? Why did it have to? I mean, they slowed the gameplay down to the point where it's like, if you're coming off, and I understand it's kind of like a soft reboot / sequel to.
Right, but they were kind of setting the story up because you know they're going to make it into a trilogy.
Yeah. It's just I personally don't like the combat. I like the values. Yeah, I really don't. Because I'm gonna say this, and this is why I'm gonna say that my console that I think is the most overrated is the PlayStation 4. And I know that it's very, very controversial.
We got 3 PlayStations. I didn't see that one coming.
Okay, so for me, the reason I say the PlayStation 4 is
guys, I'm loving this podcast so much, by the way. I'm not biased though.
So the reason I say it's overrated is because, one, it's been port city, I'd say, worse than what Nintendo was doing with the Switch.
How so? Can you give me a couple?
The first couple of years, how many times do we get things coming straight from the PlayStation 3?
Yeah, The Last of Us, the Nathan Drake series or whatever. What is it called?
So I mean,
that's two first parties, and then Shadow of Colossus. Yes, it is from the PS2, but you can't tell me that that's not now the most definitive version of it. And I mean, like, it's not just a straight up stretching out the resolution. They literally went in and changed every texture.
Yeah,
they fixed the camera controls a little bit. They tighten things up, and they changed some of the button prompts and this and that. So it's a full on.
It's cool that they did that, and it's cool that they, remade the Yakuza games, but it's still Port City. It's a lot of ports.
Right, but a lot of those other ports, so like, the Metro stuff, Devil May Cry, and all those other things, that's not really them doing that. Xbox One has those ports as well.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, like, I mean, one of the most common things you'll hear a lot of people say is that it's just there's the port situation. And then you go from there. If we were to compare their first party games, like starting with, I'm glad Liquid brought it up. You start with the Order 1886, which was their attempt trying to do.
That was the best game of all time, according to Liquid Metal.
Hold on. Liquid Metal likes it or dislikes it?
I don't know.
He's joking. He's trolling.
Okay. I think he's joking.
Because I'm going to be very honest with you. I think that's one of the strongest exclusives on the console. I actually really enjoyed it.
86. It's got good graphics. It's visually impressive.
It's basically a Gears of War clone. I'm not going to hate on them for that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I thought it had a really cool story to it.
I thought the story, the graphics, I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people crapped on it.
I really liked it.
But the reason I brought that up is because I look at the combat style of the Order 1881, and then you look at when they came out with Horizon Zero Dawn, which is kind of like a mixture between the Order 1881's combat with Uncharted, and then you look at how God of War is, and it's like, okay, so we're doing the tank third-person shooter style controls. Like, I feel like when I'm playing a lot of the first-party PlayStation 4 PlayStation 4 games, I feel like I'm playing the same formula over and over and over, just slightly tweaked here and there. It's not a unique experience to me. And I see a lot of people hopping on the PlayStation train. They're like, oh, it's the greatest ever. Xbox is trash, blah, 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 blah. You only need Sony and Nintendo. And I'm like, well, okay, but y'all weren't saying that when we had the 360 and the PS3.
Well, the reason for that is because Microsoft was actually trying back then. They're not even trying anymore. They're really not. Did you see what came out today? They just made a Windows 10 exclusive game with one of their first-party studios. That is 100% irrelevant and so idiotic. You have a console that you clearly need games for, yet you're making Windows 10 exclusives? And it's like a full-on, beautiful, like, drag racing game that I think might be free to play with your OS, right? Just comes with your Windows. But, like, why is that not, given away on the Xbox? That makes no sense.
Yeah, that is weird. I kind of agree. But I don't see, the thing is, I do think the Xbox is trying. Like, they came out with the Xbox One X. It's a really awesome system.
But the only reason they did that was because of the Pro.
Yeah.
And the only reason Sony made the Pro was because the VR runs like shit on the original model.
And what I really like about the Xbox One X is it's kind of like the definitive retro console because, it does all these Xbox enhancements to like old retro games and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's a cool place to go and play old Sega games and old original Xbox games and even some old 360 games. It's pretty neat. Like, I wish the PS4 had more backwards compatibility. That's why at the end of the day, I still respect the PS2 and PS3 a lot more than the PS4 because, they weren't complacent. Like, they actually tried to do stuff. The PS4 just plays it really safe. And I kind of agree with Mekel. Like, it doesn't feel quirky or unique. It just kind of feels like we're playing it safe. It's lowest common denominator. Appeal to the masses as much as possible. Don't do anything crazy. Don't take any risks. It's smart from a business perspective,
exactly.
But it's boring. That's all I'm saying.
Right, but I mean, it's an experience that is safe. You know what you're going to get with it. Like, I know that when I bought my PS4, I knew I was going to get an Uncharted. I knew I was going to get another Last of Us. I knew that if I was lucky, I might get a Jak and Daxter, might get some Ratchet and Clanks, might get some new IPs, which we did, and all that stuff. But like with the Xbox, I mean, what do they like? And again, like, I'm an Xbox guy. I love the Xbox, but like, what do they even have right now?
For exclusives?
Yeah.
Super Lucky's Tale.
But
Sunset Overdrive.
It is and it isn't.
Rise wasn't that great. It had
but all those
Gears of War, the new Gears of War, right? Halo 5. What's that pirate game?
Sea of Thieves. It's garbage.
Well, the water looks cool.
I was really hyped for that game. I honestly was. But it's complete garbage. But the only one that you just listed that's actually truly exclusive is Sunset Overdrive.
Forza.
It can't. No, I mean those can all be played on PC.
Like, well, yeah, but you can say the same thing about the PlayStation. A lot of games are like that.
I mean, not really. All the third party, but not the first party.
I mean, now we're just making a case for the PC Master Race.
I mean, if anything, I think we should look at like Xbox and Windows 10 as one platform, which is what I think Microsoft is
wanting to do. But that kind of sucks for me. Like for me as a collector, I don't want that, so I'm good.
Yeah, I don't either. I agree with you.
We're just like, I mean,
sometimes you just need a bad boy like Sega to come in, take you away from the safety.
Well, that's kind of why I was saying earlier. I kind of want.
I'm just kidding.
And this, I guess, leads into what he was saying there for a second. Like, I kind of want Microsoft to bow out of the race. I really do, because
you only want a duopoly.
Kind of. Because then here's the thing though. Here's the thing. Somebody else will come in to step up to the plate, and I honestly think that it would probably be Samsung.
DGC, who hurt you?
Phil Spencer. He hurt my feelings by ruining the brand. Show me
on the controller where he touched you.
In the culo.
Show me on the Dreamcast.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so with all the things that are going on with Xbox right now, can't be blamed on that predecessor. Everything that has happened to this brand in the last couple of years is all Phil Spencer's doing.
Actually, it's not Phil Spencer, it's Satya Nadella.
Yes and no.
Because Phil Spencer, Phil
Spencer's a CEO now, right? So
yeah, but
he has say in what goes on. Now, okay, we can have this conversation again after E3. They might blow us the fuck away, right? We have no idea. If they don't have a good E3 this year, the Xbox is done to me. And I don't think I would ever buy another one at this point.
Okay, so this is my argument, and this is because I used to work for Microsoft, and I know that when Satya Nadella became the CEO of the company, he is the reason why so many things in Microsoft dropped off, because
they killed Nokia and they killed a bunch of shit. I know,
but that's him. Even with Xbox, he wanted to end Xbox. He didn't care for it. That's why there's been so little support. He wants to sell services. He doesn't care about the individual different things that Microsoft had. So I know you want to say that's Phil Spencer. To an extent, that's true, but in the grander scope of it, it's actually Satya Nadella.
Well, then maybe he just doesn't actually even believe or want the Xbox brand to exist.
Yeah.
He just wants it to be a service then.
Just like he didn't want the Windows Phone, which at one point Windows Phone was doing really good. Until
I actually kind of wanted one at one point, honestly.
Yeah, it was a fantastic phone, but it's his logic that just goes against the grain of everything that was Microsoft prior to him taking over in, I think, 2012, 2011. So a lot of what's wrong with Xbox is him.
Yeah.
But
they just haven't really recovered since then.
Yeah, because it's basically, and I'm going to side with DGC here, it's kind of a little of a too little too late type of situation in a way. I can see Samsung stepping up to the plate. What would it be called, though, the console? You think it would be a Galaxy?
Probably. I mean, I don't really see any problems with it. I think they could make a fantastic console. I really do.
So long as it's not Apple, because they tried.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't really want Apple to jump in there.
So you want Microsoft to bow out and be replaced by somebody like Samsung?
Yeah. I feel like some fresh blood in the ecosystem of the gaming landscape would be a good idea. I really do.
But see, isn't that kind of assuming that the gaming landscape as we know it is going to continue? Because I feel like it's the whole traditional model of console gaming is kind of dying out. So I don't know if it would make sense for a new person to throw their hat in the ring, unless it was like some kind of weird niche indie console.
I think we're heading towards another console crash, kind of like the 80s, honestly.
I kind of agree with that because you've got so many clone systems coming out. You've got so many, oh, hey, look at my NT Mini and my Super NT Mini. Look at my Neo Geo HD thing and all these little things that are coming out. I feel like it's overloading the market, kind of like it happened in the 80s. And I'll be honest with you. I don't want the PS5 yet. Like I do kind of, but I kind of don't. Like I just got the Pro, I just got the X, I just got the Switch. I don't want any more consoles for a couple years. Like I want these things. I guess we kind of got spoiled by the PS3 and 360 lasting so long that now that's what I want to be the new norm of console generations. But I do really want to see Xbox bow out. Like I just don't feel like they're offering me as an Xbox guy what they used to give me. But as far as he was saying, we super sidetracked, or I sidetracked us. The PS4, I would agree that it is kind of overrated, but at the same time, Microsoft's just not making any exclusives to make it. If they were going toe to toe with exclusives, like or kind of the same number, I could agree with what you're saying that it's overrated. But I mean, I don't know. They do have a lot of. Actually, I guess that is. So they have Rare Replay and Sunset Overdrive are the only things that are technically full-on exclusives to that console, and Halo 5, and that's kind of sad.
Oh, Dead Rising 3.
No, it's on PC too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's true. Never mind.
So, and then the Halo 5, even at that fact, it has Forge mode on PC, so like it's kind of on the PC. So I mean, I don't know. To me, that's just kind of sad. It's weird, really, is what it is. So like, why even have the Xbox if you're not going to have exclusives for it? Like, what is the point? You may as well. Microsoft already owns. I don't know what the ratio is, but I would make a strong argument that at least 75% of the computers in the world run Windows, right? Of some form, if not a higher percentage. Like, I'm not an Apple guy. I think Apple's garbage. But so they're already in at least 75% of the homes. What do you even need the Xbox for? At that point,
well,
what do they need it for?
Call me crazy, but I think that a lot of the appeal for the Xbox One X in particular is going to pick up over time as the console that people look back and go, well, you want to play that game the best definitive way, you got to play it on the Xbox One X. Like, in a weird way, it came out to be the best, like the most powerful console of this generation, but it's going to end up being one of the best retro consoles.
But
retroactively, no pun intended. But I think
but it's not going to, because both of these systems are actually going to suck to collect for, and I'll tell you why. You already know the answer, but
to collect for,
to play them in the future, it's collecting, right? So to play these in the future, like once these servers go down, and your hard drive somehow reformats itself, or you have to reformat it, and you can't download these patches, Assassin's Creed Unity will literally be unplayable. Most of these games will just be straight up unplayable. Titanfall, you're not going to be able to play it without the servers. Sea of Thieves, you're not going to be able to play it. State of Decay 2, Street Fighter 5, you're just straight up not going to be able to play it. Like all these things about these current gen consoles, just even if you're not a collector, they just suck. Like, whose bright idea was it to make Street Fighter 5 online only?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I mean, come on. Like, what? That's just dumb. And then even if you buy the arcade edition, it's literally the same disc that got restamped with a DLC code in it, right? Yeah. So that you don't even need to buy it. This is a tip for anybody that wants that. The arcade edition is literally the same thing with a new stamp on the disc and a new insert in the box, and then you already get that free download for the arcade edition if you put in the normal edition disc. So there's literally no point in buying it. They're just trying to steal money from you at this point. But
so forgive my ignorance, but are you saying that if I took the original Xbox physical copy of Panzer Dragoon Orta, and in 20 years I put it in my Xbox One X, I would actually need the online servers to be able to get the download for it? Or would it?
I don't think it would work. I think
I didn't realize that.
I think you physically have to have some kind of download, whether it's just checking, whether it's some kind of weird program that just goes, all right, this is a real DVD that Xbox made, you can play this. If it's something like that, which is kind of what I assume it is, because when you put that game in there, you're not even playing the original Xbox game. It physically scans that you have the disc, and then it downloads the game.
Oh yeah, I guess because the download wouldn't be on the disc. That'd be like impossible.
Correct. So you're not even like, once those servers are down, you're not going to be doing that if your hard drive ever gets screwed up. Now, I will say this, they did at least give us the feature of you can clone your hard drives as many times as you want for both systems. So once the day those servers go down, or like the month that we know they're going down, me personally, I'm going to back up the games that I care about. Like Gears 4, I'm going to make sure that I have all the updates on my hard drive, and I'm going to back it up on my computer and then keep it in my Xbox as well. And like, I'm going to keep these things because there's certain games that I'm going to want to play as they were intended, even though the developer was lazy and rushed it out.
Well, you know, it's interesting too, because the Dreamcast had a lot of stuff that wasn't future-proofed for internet connectivity and servers and things like that. But like, you can still get DLC for Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 that people have put on the web. You can still play on private servers
and do all that stuff. I'm talking about like just.
I'm just saying there might be a solution like that for the Xbox One X. Like maybe somebody will have a private server where they dump all that stuff and archive it, and you can get those patches if you need them. But it would be.
Well, I agree with what you're saying.
It's hard for lazy people like me to do it, but it could be
I wouldn't want to do any of that either. Like, so here's a great example of it. My original Xbox, it died on me right before I started the channel. So maybe 2 years ago. I was very distraught by it. Like I really like just had some emotional distress over that because I had lost like 15 years worth of saves. You know, it was like my multiple Fable save files, all my Halo 2 maps that I downloaded off Xbox Live and remember playing with them, and like I can't get any of that back now unless I mod the console, but I don't want to do that. I could do it, and it's not that difficult probably, but like I don't feel like doing all that, and now it's just lost to the test of time. And it's shit like that just really pisses me off about both these current consoles, really.
True. I feel the same.
I mean like Assassin's Creed Unity is literally broken. Like I don't even think you can play that game without the updates.
Yeah, you can.
So like, how did that become acceptable in the industry to do shit like that? How is we as gamers? How did we allow that to happen?
Well, when Sony, I'm just kidding.
No, I would honestly.
I was going to blame it on Sony
because they kind of put us into this semi PC TV architecture. You know what I'm saying? Like the original Xbox is what started all this. As much as I love it, it also is kind of the downfall of these consoles that came after it.
It's like the PCification of home consoles. Like it's turning consoles into multimedia centers rather than dedicated gaming consoles. Because
like back in the day, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, PC gaming was a complete separate thing.
Yeah.
There were some games that came on both, but it was very few in between. Like it was a totally different thing back in the day, right? And then now, like it's literally like, realistically, if you wanted to, you could just get the PC and you're going to get all the Xbox exclusives now, and then you're still going to get the third-party exclusives that Sony's getting on their console. You're still going to get Street Fighter V, Nier Automata, you know, all those other exclusive third-party games that they're getting, Hellblade and all that stuff. So I don't know. I just these current, and then like at that point, like you may as well just go and be a PC gamer because you're not actually buying these games on the disc, you know.
I just won't be buying video games anymore, I guess, for much longer. Man, I'll be able to do so much. I could pay my car off.
Yeah, so much more time for activities.
Yeah.
Yoga. Yeah.
Do some yoga. I'm doing some yoga tomorrow, bro.
Oh man, I'm going to hit the gym today. Dude, I can't believe I'm down to 235 now.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Good for you.
It's good.
But,
I hit my personal goal of 30 push-ups in a row without stopping the other day. That's pretty cool. I was like, yeah, I did it. I was so winded though, and then I went and threw up in the trash can. It's tough.
That happens.
But you know, to go back to DGC's point, I mean, he's right. It did start with the Xbox because even mine, like recently, because I tried to connect it to my TV and it just died. Like just
which one?
My original Xbox.
Really?
Yeah, and
that just breaks my heart.
This is one I've had since launch, and it's like
right.
It's exactly like you said. Like you can't do anything now to you can't get that back, and it's this age where we're doing DLC, and I really think the old DLC practices. I mean, yeah, it started with the original Xbox, but it got really bad towards the second half of this past generation. You know, where it got to the point where we had to download everything and we had to. It's like, what's the point buying the disc when the discs are basically just DRM?
That's literally what it is. It's DRM on a disc.
Yep.
But
I gotta say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I still do enjoy the Xbox One X because I buy a lot of games digitally, and you know, a lot of them are like old Sega Saturn games, old Dreamcast games, old OG Xbox games, old 360 games, and it's really fun to play those on the Xbox One X. Like I love being able to play Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, you know, on there, and Virtua Fighter 2 and Sonic the Fighters and Fighting Vipers and all that kind of stuff. I like that I can do that.
Did you get Hard Corps Uprising yet? Like
I need to still get it. I still need to get it.
Yeah, it's badass.
Yeah,
Mekel, you need to get that too.
I've heard it's really, really good.
I mean, it's literally it's a spiritual successor to Contra Hard Corps. Excuse me, but I was gonna say, you know, like there's just all that DLC on the original Xbox is just lost the test of time, and these consoles. So like, my Sega Saturn or my Sega Dream or blah blah blah. My Genesis is a literal launch day Genesis from '89, and it's still kicking. I can't say
it says high def.
Yeah, right. I can't say that about the 360, the Xbox One, the PS3, PS4. I mean, all these systems probably are not going to even like just the physical hardware probably won't even last that long because they just don't. I guess they just don't even build them that well anymore. But I don't know.
We are so old; they don't make consoles like they used to.
Well, they don't. I mean, like I have an NES that's probably from the '80s, and it's still kicking. Right? I mean, it is literally from the '80s, and it's still kicking just fine.
I feel like Cranky Kong.
But I mean, if you think about it, that's one of the ups that you can give to the Wii U because you can just pop the disc in and play.
Right, and there's very few downloads. Some of them have patches.
Xenoblade Chronicles X needs one though.
Not necessarily.
It's not
It's not optimal to play it without them, but
there's a lot of popping without it. There's a lot of popping anyway, but without it, it's like dang.
Right, which sucks. But I mean, then again, it's on my actual Wii U memory, and then it's also already onto a hard drive, so I'm okay with it.
Right.
Yeah. So like, you just have to future-proof for that.
Yeah, you do.
But yeah, I don't know, Mekel. I guess I could agree that PS4 is pretty overrated. But we went on 3 PlayStations that are overrated. That's kind of funny.
Nice. Well, it's easy to call the guy on top overrated. I mean, but I'd rather punch above.
Gen, though, they do always win for some reason.
Well, if by winning you mean making the most money and being the most successful,
right? Which is the whole purpose.
I'm just kidding.
Which is the whole purpose of having a console, though, is to win.
Yeah, it is.
The one thing I say that Sony has really done to change the landscape of the gaming market is they are able to bring in the casuals. I think at a greater rate than even Nintendo does.
Oh yeah,
you know, and I think bringing the casuals into gaming, and I've had people get really mad at me when I call them a casual gamer because it's like the most they'll play is Madden and
that's a casual gamer.
NBA. Yeah, you know, they'll be like, "Oh, this is I'm a gamer. I play this." And I'm like, if that's all you play, that's the only game you get every year. You're casual. And I feel like bringing in all these casuals into gaming has really affected the market. It's kind of like now we got all the girls that are coming into gaming. This is going to be controversial for me to say, and a lot of people might get mad, but
I'll probably agree.
Bringing in, since now girls are now becoming more mainstream gamers, and now they're bringing in the feminism and the PC into gaming. I mean, look at Battlefield 5.
Yeah, please bring it up. Please bring it up. I guess you didn't see the tweet that I did the other day. I'm pretty. As a huge Battlefield guy, I'm pretty butthurt about it. And you know what? I don't care. We can go down that political road this time. I'm pretty butthurt about it because it's not even the inaccuracy factor. It's just that, like, I wouldn't have cared if you put the women in the multiplayer, but like they didn't. And I mean, I get it. If you really want to get accurate with the war stuff, like a tank driver wouldn't ever be like jumping out of the tank and then jumping into an airplane and know how to fly that, right?
Exactly.
So that's inaccurate too. So I get that from that standpoint, but with the women being in it, and then they led the whole video by that. That was basically just to prove, like, oh, hey, we're EA and we're trying to change. Come be back on our side again, right?
And it's just I've just gotten so tired of like this constant push. Like, and even there's some female gamers I know that are on Twitter, and they're always putting like tweets out saying, "Oh, we need inclusion. We need to be recognized in gaming." And I'm like,
Bro,
well,
some of the best games that have come out are like Horizon, Tomb Raider. Those games are probably some of my favorite games this gen, and they're led by a woman. And I didn't complain that I wanted Lara Croft to be a man or Aloy to be a man either. I'm totally fine with it. Doesn't bother me.
So, you know, like when and bringing in like this whole need for inclusion. I mean, look at how all this stuff, the PC and feminism and all this stuff is affecting the movie market. I mean, they effectively ruined Star Wars with what they did to Lando. You know,
I didn't see it, but what did they do to him? You can spoil it. I don't care.
He's pansexual now. He sleeps with anyone.
So he's like Shepard from what's that game? From Mass Effect.
but like you look at how like he's been propositioned for like the last 30 some plus year, or actually longer than that, right? 40 some years.
A long time.
You know, for long time fans, it's like, why are you changing this to?
Well, was he normal sexual back in the day, or was it just undisclosed?
I think if you're going by the extended universe as well, I think he was just a ladies' man. That was what he was.
Right. I mean, that's what I thought myself.
He was hitting on Leia pretty hard in Empire.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, like, we're going by what he is now. He would shack up with Jabba the Hutt. I'm just, when they're pushing the personal politics and they're pushing this feminism and this super inclusion stuff, like the Battlefield thing, really, one of the key things to me for Battlefield was the realism, or the,
right, because it was better than Call of Duty. It wasn't bullshit. The way I've always looked at Call of Duty is that it's the Need for Speed, and Battlefield was the Forza.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's getting old. I mean, I feel like that in itself, like the feminism and stuff, kind of ruined, in a way, parts of Uncharted 4. Because I mean, look at that fight with Nadine at the end. Really? Nate
I did beat it, but refresh my mind. What happened?
She was kicking Nate and his brother's ass at the same time. I'm like,
oh,
really?
Right.
You mean to tell me the guy that's been adventuring for 20 something plus years, professional murderer, adventurer, and all this,
yeah,
and they can't take like.
All right. I mean, literally, the math and logic tells me 2-on-1, 2 should win.
Yeah.
Okay, I never thought about that, but yeah, that's true.
Well,
but I mean, they could have. I love Naughty Dog, so they could have just done that for dramatic effect. That might not have been a feminism thing.
True, but
one of the reasons I really like fighting games, and my wife will tell you this too, and I've actually touched on this in my Sarah Bryant video. But fighting games have always done a really good job of giving better representation to females in their games. And my wife, that's
Dead
why
or Alive gives fair representation, right?
Well, I'm thinking more along
I was totally joking right there.
Yeah, no, but because my wife, she told me the other day her favorite fighting game is Virtua Fighter. And the reason is because, well, one, it's easy to play, like it's easy for casuals to come in and play, but also, there's really cool, really hype, really fun to play female characters in that game, and she enjoys it. And she told me, she's like, I just like being able to have so many options of picking a really fun, really powerful female fighter. Like there's Sarah Bryant, there's Pai Chan, there's Vanessa Lewis, there's the monkey kung fu girl. I forgot her name. I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, I can't think of her name, but
I just totally blanked. But there's and she liked her favorite 2D fighter, Street Fighter, because she likes playing as Chun-Li. But she told me she likes Virtua Fighter more because Chun-Li was like the only one she felt comfortable playing as, whereas with Virtua Fighter, she could play a whole bunch of different characters. And I actually read a statistic that said that more females play video games than males.
That's just definitely not true.
Well, no. Well, hear me out. I don't care
what any statistic says. It's not true.
Well, hear me out before you say it's not true, because they're saying that more females play video games. But
what do you mean self-functional?
Well, yeah. So like my wife will play these Korean drama, like this band called BTS, and she'll play like this Dance Dance Revolution, like with your thumbs on your iPhone, and it plays it to the boy band music. And she's always playing video games, but it's just stuff that she's more interested in. and a lot of times the traditional model doesn't cater to the female audience as well, because it just doesn't offer anything they're interested in. And so she just thinks it's fun to play fighting games because it offers her stuff she's interested in. So that's something I appreciate about fighting games. That's all.
But I would say the reason, I mean, I can agree that there are a lot of women that play games in a sense because yeah, I can agree with that. But I think also the reason that you would say that women aren't finding things that are appealing to them in gaming could be a lot to do with society, and putting the impression on women that games are a guy's thing or they're just toys or stupid kiddie things. And
most people look at them as they're still toys.
Yeah.
Like all of our parents probably still look at them like they're toys, which to me I don't agree with, but apparently they are.
Yeah. But girls do like to play games,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So anybody that says that they don't is, they're not informed, because they do. And
I'm not saying they don't, because I mean I have a sister and she plays cell phone games like nobody's business, but she won't ever. Occasionally I'll ask her if she comes over, I go over there to play a game with me. Because as kids, we used to play Super Nintendo all the time, right? But now she's just absolutely not interested in it anymore. And I mean, just from like a standpoint, I don't know if you guys ever look at your analytics. My percentage of women that at least watch me is like 2%. So I mean,
YouTube is predominantly male anyhow.
Not necessarily. There's a lot of I would almost say that there's probably, if you were to combine Twitch and YouTube, there's probably more women per capita that do gaming related things than men, just because they have their tits hanging out and they pretend they like Battlefield and Call of Duty and Overwatch.
Tit-tube.
Titty witch.
I just know I was watching a podcast with Jordan Peterson, and they were saying, why do you only cater to males? And he's like, well, because YouTube mostly has males as the main demographic. Overwhelmingly, it's a majority on YouTube. So that's where I got that from. But
I mean, I like him as well, and I do. He's probably right. But yeah, I mean, it's possible.
I like how this podcast is just flowed in so many different directions.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun. Hey, and I appreciate that you guys let me get all that Sony stuff off my chest.
I figured I'd let you air it out so you could get your bias away.
Yeah, I feel much better. And I'm glad I could drag you guys into it with me to hate on PS1 and PS4. And I'm glad we could all agree that PS3 is the best PlayStation, right?
I mean, I would say it is. It's my biggest collection.
Yeah, I can second that.
There you
go.
go.
Out of all four of them, I would say PS3 was the best one. And now, arguably, any developer would admit to you that was probably the hardest one to develop out of all four of them.
Oh, sure. It was still a cool system, though. It was very unsafe. It was quirky. It was cool. I liked it.
I mean, the PS3, I don't even think that thing ever got fully utilized, really. Like, The Last of Us definitely pushed its hardware, but I think it had a little bit more in it.
You may be right.
But who knows?
But I just hope you guys know I love y'all, and I wasn't trying to be too overbearing. I just get a little passionate sometimes, but I enjoyed talking with you guys about it. It was a lot of fun. So,
nothing wrong with passion. So I guess that go ahead.
Oh, and I enjoyed reading Liquid Metal's roasts of me. That was really funny too. So.
Oh man. Did you guys have anything you want to close out with before we get to the last topic?
No.
Okay.
Let's do it. Last topic.
All right. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, what are some upcoming projects that you guys are excited for, working on, or looking forward to?
What you got, DGC?
No, take it away, Jiggly.
Okay. Speaking of original Xbox, I've got, I always say this wrong, Kakuto Chojin, Back Alley Brutal.
It's actually Kakojin.
Kakojin, yeah.
Kakuto Chojin? Did I say it? Could you guys say that again?
It's Kakojin. It doesn't make sense, but that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Kakojin. Okay, fair enough. Good to know. Yeah, because I'm going to make a video on it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's good for you.
I'm not an expert on this game, but I do find it fascinating, and I've been chatting with a user on YouTube named Silver-Haired Devil, and most people know me for my Virtua Fighter stuff. A few people know me for my top 5 videos. But I also do another series of videos called Pet Projects of Gaming Icons, where I look at games that iconic video game developers worked on that flopped, but were actually pretty cool. So like I did Devil's Third, I did Too Human, I did Rodea the Sky Soldier, and now I'm going to do one on Seiichi Ishii and his project Kaku Chojin. And it's going to be pretty fun. I'm going to talk about some of the life and achievements of Seiichi Ishii and about how this game came out and what happened with it and why it's still good even though people said it wasn't and stuff like that. So that's my next project coming up. So if you're at all interested in this game, come on over to Oso Jiggly. I think you'll like it.
All right, so I will say that out of everything you do on your channel, the gaming icon videos are my absolute favorite. There's so few and far in between, but I love them. They're always good. They're always packed with tons of knowledge. And then what you were just holding segues into what I'm doing currently on my channel, which is original Xbox exclusive lists. Basically, I'm just doing every letter of the alphabet into a list in a nice manner, and that's a larger project that I'm working on. But things that are up and coming, I'm going to be potentially, I haven't decided if I want to necessarily do it or not, but I kind of want to do a PlayStation VR buying guide. I feel like it has not been done yet, and I don't feel like it's not that there's been misinformation about the VR, PlayStation VR, but I don't feel like the information that is needed to be known is out there.
I agree with you. I don't think it has been done.
You have one?
No, I've been told I need to get one, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of. It's not now out of all the VRs, it's not the greatest one, right? It's actually technically the least superior, right? But at the same time, it's the most friendly on your wallet and it has the most exclusives. So for me, obviously, I'm going to go with the one that has the most exclusives. I mean, right? Yeah. That's why I would buy a console is for its exclusives. So I mean, in a way, I guess the VR is kind of like the Sega CD in a sense. It's an add-on to the console that already exists, right? You don't have to have it, but you have to have the other to have it. But so that's kind of stuff that I will be working on here in the near future, and then more collection guides and that kind of stuff. But that's pretty much it.
All right. I guess
you got anything you're working on there, Mekel?
God, dude, I've got.
Well, I know you're working on hella reviews. I know that.
Okay, so I'm working on a review for the Microsoft Surface Book 2 15-inch. I'm also working on a review for this iBuyPower Tracer 941 desktop.
Also
working on my Ease 8 review, my Assault, what is the name of that game? Assault something. It's from NIS America. NIS America shows me a lot of love. And
yeah, I'm trying to get to that point.
Dude, once you do one good review, like after you're done with this review, you're gonna get a whole ton of love. Like they've sent me at least 5 games within the last 3 days, and some I can't talk about, and I'm working on those. I've got to put up my video for Shantae Half-Genie Hero Ultimate Edition because I promised Way Forward I'd do it, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Damn, that came out a while ago.
I've got it on the Wii U.
Well, yeah, no, the Ultimate Edition.
I have the definitive edition on the Wii U as well.
Yep.
It came out the one that they just dropped.
Yeah, it's the same.
Half-Genie Hero, yeah.
It's the same
with the Kickstarter exclusive content.
Yeah, I don't think it has that, but whatever.
Okay.
I can go look for it.
I have it right here, actually, if you guys want to wait a second. I have 2 copies of it.
Oh, okay.
So I've got that, and I need to get out my video for not Castlevania, but Bloodstained Curse.
So this one is the Shantae Half-Genie Risky Beats edition. I have it for the Vita and the Wii U, actually.
I take it back. The Vita is the best Sony console.
I would actually have to say no. Even though I like it, I would definitely say no.
All right.
It's got like maybe 15 games that are worth playing on it. Maybe 25.
I love an underdog, so that sounds cool to me.
So, Mekel, what all comes with the do you have your Ultimate Edition near you by chance?
I only have it digitally.
Shit.
The Switch version that they put out.
Gave you, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I guess it might have more content, but I don't think it does. Because I don't think any DLC ever came for this.
So it should have the the risky.
Oh, you were saying something Kickstarter stuff though, right?
Yeah.
Well, let me Amazon it real quick.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, some people in the comments were asking if we're going to do a Q&A. I guess they like doing Q&As.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. That's up to you guys.
Yeah, we can do. If you guys want to drop your questions below, we can do the Q&A. Let's see, Q&A is ready. Ask your questions. Oh yeah, the last thing I'm gonna do. I want to do an Ease series retrospective because it seems like the only two YouTubers to have done that are GameSack and
Millennium, Johnny Millennium, or Happy Console.
Yeah. Like no
I actually kind of just need you to do that for me before my Ease 8 review.
So that was something I was thinking I could probably get out today because
have you played all of them?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Like even the ones that haven't even made it to America, because there's only one, and it kind of confuses me as to why we haven't.
Did you play Ys Origins?
Yes.
Okay. Did you like that one?
Yeah, it actually. If anything, I would say if you're gonna play them in order, I'd do 1 and 2, and then play Origins because Origins spoils.
Do all of them actually interconnect?
Origins,
are they all add-all?
Origins, no. So basically, the only games set in the land of Ys are Origin 1 and 2. Okay. And everything after that is just a different adventure, a different chronicle from a different point of Adol's life.
Right. So he's basically Link. He's always the main character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And that was something I thought, but I wasn't sure of.
Yeah. So, all right. So Den to Avery, he has a question. So he wants to know, do you guys think that Virtua Fighter 6 will be a thing? If so, what do you want to see as far as newly added features, characters, etc.?
We did a whole podcast.
I see Dave smiling super hard about that.
I'm smiling because we covered that exact topic on a podcast we did a while ago. What was that episode? Podcast number? I don't even know, but
I do think that it will happen, but it kind of determines. It depends on how well Soul Calibur does. I think.
Yes, that's something we talked about also.
I think that is going to be a large factor of it, which I already think that's going to do well.
If 3D fighting games keep doing well, that's Virtua Fighter's best bet for a comeback. Eris, who's over at Avoiding the Puddle, has talked to some corporate executives, and they told him that because he said, "What's up with Virtua Fighter?" And they said, "Well, if we ever make another Virtua Fighter game, it won't be for a long time. So there's nothing in the works. What would it take to come back?
Yeah, but that's not
the right environment." Also, we talked about in that podcast. You might be interested to go and check it out. Din the Abery. You might want to watch that other podcast. I don't know which one it was, but we talked about how it would be fun to put some Yakuza characters in there. It'd be like Kiryu. It'd be fun to put Ryo Hazuki or Lan Di in there. Stuff like that. We talked about the possibility of a crossover between Virtua Fighter and Tekken and why I feel that's somewhat unlikely. So we talked about it. Yes, and Dead or Alive has a similar...
Which is the only reason you wanted our game.
Yeah, well, Dead or Alive has a similar button control scheme to Virtua Fighter, because in Tekken they have a right limb, left limb mechanic that would be such a far departure from Virtua Fighter's game mechanics that it would be hard to make those two different fighting systems coalesce together. Because Dead or Alive is really, this is what we talked about in the other podcast, but the reason Dead or Alive and Virtua Fighter go together so well is because Tomonobu Itagaki literally told somebody that he basically wanted to, well, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he basically said he wanted to take Virtua Fighter and make like the Hooters version of Virtua Fighter with Dead or Alive, and that's basically what he did. Yeah, no, he did. To me, and this is going to be probably pretty controversial, as far as overrated games, I would say Tekken and Street Fighter are probably two of the most overrated fighters there are. I don't think they're as good as everybody makes them out to be.
I personally think that Dead or Alive is one of the best fighting games there is. But
what's your favorite 2D fighter, DGC?
Favorite? I mean, do you really want to know the answer to that?
Yeah.
It's more of just a nostalgia factor.
Okay.
I just really love Clay Fighter on the Super Nintendo because I had it as a kid.
All right. Okay. That's cool.
That is one great memory I have of my sister and I just playing the crap out of Clay Fighter.
Did you ever play Balls 3D on the Super Nintendo?
No.
That was a fighter.
I would say this. I would say I can agree with you that Street Fighter is overrated because I feel like SNK, given that it was the bulk of the original Street Fighter team that went over to them, I feel like SNK just took the fighting genre to a whole new plateau. They were always innovating, and they did what Capcom was unwilling to do. They were willing to experiment with different mechanics and you know, and then when we look at Tekken, like, Tekken now, as it is in Tekken 7, 6, 5, and hell, even 4, I feel like it's such a sharp departure from what it was in 1, 2, and 3, where it was about the martial arts. Now it's about this anime, you know, this over the top, like, you know, what is the point? Like, if we got devil powers now, like, who's really going to beat you? So.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so Sean Sweeney in the chat, he asks, with some talks of Microsoft needing something to boost the Xbox, do you think that they could go to the extent of partnering with Nintendo to release GoldenEye or Rare N64 games to be on both Xbox and Switch?
I don't think that would ever happen. Nintendo might play nice to have Minecraft online with Xbox, but Nintendo has literally been quoted as saying they would rather not let anybody have their IPs than just fail as a company. Like, they don't, like, their IPs are theirs. They would never sell them. Nintendo is like a proud Japanese company, and you know, anything that's actually theirs, they wouldn't do that. And I just don't. I would never foresee that happening. It would be cool, but I just don't. I just don't see that happening. But that's just me.
Nintendo is known to be somewhat fickle and jealous as a company, and for good reason, because when they leased out some of their IPs to the
Philips CDI,
man, that wasn't a good deal. But
or
you
like
know,
the Mario movie,
but they learned their lesson from that. But they've cautiously begun to get their IPs
so we
out
got
there
Mario
more, like
Rabbids, which was
Mario
awesome.
and Rabbids. You know, they're making that theme park, the Nintendo theme park at Universal, right, or something like that. So it's, you know, never say never. But
that's like a complete rival, though. Like the theme park, that's just an extension of their universe. But like with Xbox, I mean that it would serve Microsoft a benefit, but I mean it wouldn't really give Nintendo much of a benefit. They want you to play on their console, whereas Microsoft clearly just wants to be in everybody's pockets. Which I can't really blame them, but that kind of seems like what they're trying to do.
Maybe so. But, you know, Sega was recently talking closely with Xbox, so I think it's more likely that they might do something with them. And Sega and Xbox have been historically very tight. Like it says Windows CE on my Dreamcast right here.
Right.
You know?
Well, I brought this up in mine and Mekel's podcast. I think that I think they've got at least 2 to 4 exclusives lined up with Sega for the Xbox. I really want to believe that. I really do. I would like to think that it would be maybe Crazy Taxi or Panzer Dragoon or Jet Set Radio Future, which is heavily rumored, or what if they even like gave the IP of Banjo to the Sonic team or something, right? And let them take a crack at it, because clearly they're not going to let Rare take a crack at their own IP anymore. You know, those are just kind of some of the things I could see Xbox doing, but.
Good question.
That is a good question.
All right. So Liquid Metal, he wants to ask, also Jiggly, so why is Virtua Fighter deeper than Tekken?
All right, guys, I will be back in 2 seconds, all right?
Yeah, okay. You're good. So many reasons. No, I don't know. Yeah, you may have seen my video in that case, Liquid Metal. That's what I'm most infamous for. You know,
feathers of that video.
I did. I opened a whole can of worms, and I made a lot of fanboys really mad. But the vast majority of people who watch that, like there's twice as many likes as dislikes on that video. Like I really made a case for like, what is the definition of depth? What makes a game deep? Here's how Virtua Fighter satisfies that definition. Here's how Tekken falls short of that definition. And I feel like I did a pretty fair job. A lot of people said I was biased in that video. One of the criticisms I see the most is they say, I can't believe you said Virtua Fighter has Yomi and Sabakis and fuzzy guarding. That's all in Tekken. Gall, you're so biased. And I was like, look, guys, I didn't say Tekken didn't have those things. I just mentioned how those things layer on layer on layer until you have a game with a lot of depth. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you want to, I don't know, I'm always in danger of oversimplifying things. So I'm just going to go ahead and oversimplify it again. But Virtua Fighter has a lot of layers, a lot of creativity, a lot of things you can do in any given situation. Tekken, a lot of times, as deep as it is, and it is a deep game, and I would never belittle Tekken, but a lot of times it does devolve into kind of a launching juggle fight. You know what I mean? Like, and you can't really get away with that as much in Virtua Fighter. There's other things you can do. It plays out differently. Like, you start to see people do some of the same types of things, even in competitive matches in Tekken, but in Virtua Fighter, it feels a little more creative. But that's not to say that Tekken isn't fun to watch and that it isn't creative or different in different matches. It's just that one is more so. And that's all I was trying to point out in the video, but that makes a lot of people mad. So, but if you really want to know why I think it is, feel free to check out that video, why Virtua Fighter is deeper than Tekken. Doesn't mean it's better, okay? Can I point that out? I'm not saying it's better, even though I personally prefer Virtua Fighter. But, depth and what you enjoy is not the same. So,
all right. So I can agree with you. I'm going to back you up on that because I play both, just like you do. One of the things that I find annoying, and especially because I play in tournaments for Tekken, spamming is so easy to do in Tekken that is ridiculous. Like
Claudio's hop kick.
Oh God. I hate how someone can just repeatedly do one move, or one move has such high priority over a technical character. And you see that same issue within like games like Street Fighter, especially Street Fighter 5. Like if you play a technical character like Alex and you're going up against someone playing Elena or any of the female characters, they're done. But
sometimes it takes more concentration to play a more technical character competitively.
Yeah.
And when you're in a tournament, if something takes more concentration, you run out of gas faster mentally, so you'll.
Yeah. So whereas I feel like when it comes to Virtua Fighter, you don't have that problem where everybody is basically, I feel like everyone in Virtua Fighter is evenly balanced in a way. To where it really does come down to, you can button mash to an extent, but if you're going to go into higher levels of play, it's going to come down to skill. Because if you don't understand how to do Sabakis and whatnot, you're going to get wrecked.
Yes, and even though Sabakis and fuzzy guarding do exist in Tekken, they don't serve quite the same purpose as they do in Virtua Fighter. Because in Virtua Fighter, based on if you got hit, or you blocked it, or you got staggered, or you're recovering from a throw or something, or if you get countered, like I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, Mekel, but I don't think Tekken has a crouching dash fuzzy guard, but Virtua Fighter does, and so the fuzzy guarding, it works a little bit differently, even though it's in both games. So.
All right. So we got a question from Derek64. He's also a YouTuber. He wants to know, do you think Rare is on its way out of the door after Sea of Thieves?
Okay. So old Rare is my favorite game company of all time. It's why I even bought the Xbox to begin with, because I had high hopes for that partnership that kind of panned out, but didn't really. So Microsoft is known to axe studios pretty quickly. They just killed Peter Molyneux. They killed Lionhead. They killed the Scalebound project. They killed, they just axe studios left and right if they feel like it. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. If the studio is not performing, then there's no point in wasting money on it, right? But I don't think that I mean, okay, so they could kill Rare, but then still keep all the IPs, and that wouldn't affect them, which is really Rare of today is not the Rare of yesteryear. I'm not going to say none, but probably none of the talent that made Rare the name brand that it was is still there, would be my take on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Do you know if any of them went over to Retro Studios?
Some, but then now they have gone to, what was the studio that made Recore?
Or how about Ukulele? Some of them went to that studio too.
Well, yeah, the Ukulele studio is basically built from all of
the old Rare.
It has the initial Rare team, not all of them.
The music guys in there at least.
Yeah, David Wise. The Ukulele team, I think, is like 15 people. Honestly, it's not a big team.
No.
So who made? Level, was it Armature or Level 5 made Recore? One of those is basically, yeah, level 5 concept. It was either them or Armature. I think Armature. Yeah, Armature is a lot of some Rare people and some retro people, retro studios. Because I know the head of Metroid Prime went to make Recore, which if you guys haven't played that game's really badass. Xbox exclusive.
Oh, I have not. I'll check it out. Who made Tropical Freeze? That wasn't retro, was it?
It was retro. Okay.
It's easy for me. I'm tempted to say, oh, a lot of people went to retro from Rare because they're the ones making Donkey Kong. But I don't know if that's actually true.
No, so Retro's actual first game was actually a football game.
Yeah.
It never got released. It never got released, but that was so. But yeah, they it might have some Rare employees there, maybe, but I don't think it really is comprised of them or anything.
Yeah.
All right. So then
your take on that, Mekel?
I gave up on Rare a long time ago.
Agreed. I did after they became the Avatar people. I mean, that's literally what they did for like 6 years.
I mean, for me, the last game that they did, which I believe I somewhat cared about, was Star Fox Adventure. And then everything after
you didn't. Okay, so for clarification, did you guys like Perfect Dark Zero cameo or Nuts and Bolts or Grab by the Ghoulies, or was it Grab by the Ghoulies, or
this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I personally enjoyed all those Rare games.
I didn't like Nuts and Bolts, but I enjoyed it. I'm a Banjo-Kazooie snob a little bit.
Right, but for what it was the next best thing that we were going to get. Right, you're never going to get Banjo 3E. It's not going to happen. And even if Microsoft does make it, it's not going to be what it really was going to be back in the day. You know what I mean? Because it's not the same team making it.
Yeah.
Although maybe Ukulele is kind of Banjo 3E in a roundabout way. It kind of is.
True.
So maybe they should change their name to Medium Rare. Hey, it's getting late.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Any more questions, Mekel?
There's only one more. It's from Den Avery. He says, do you guys think that there will be a time where indie devs will start making games for the Sega Saturn like some are doing with Dreamcast, Genesis, and SNES?
For the Sega Saturn. Well, they did crack the hardware a little bit through that. What's that little? You know how for the Sega Saturn there was the port of that Lunar game, but you had to have one of those little video cards that you had to put in the back of the Saturn.
The movie port.
The movie port. He did some kind of workaround through the movie port to crack the hardware so that you could develop games for it. But gosh, I mean, I think that is the holy grail of indie games, is making a game like that for the Sega Saturn. But it's such a arduous process, and it's such a tangled web to code for that thing that I don't know if people would be able to stick it out and accomplish very much on it. But I would love that. Yeah,
I don't really ever foresee it happening. The reason the Dreamcast is so hot in the homebrew scene is because it runs on DirectX. Or it runs on the predecessor to DirectX. That's why it's so easy to make games for.
Oh yeah.
But with that being said, all the games that you get on it, you don't get indie Sonic adventure games. You just get shoot 'em ups, basically, is what you're getting out of the indie people. And I love shoot 'em ups as much as the next guy, but you're not. I mean, the indie game, and I'm not hurting or harping on these people, but the indie games that you get from those people on those retro systems they really just kind of leave something to be desired. They're never really like a full-on game, and I get it. They're usually made by like 1 to 10 people, but for me, they're just not anything special. But that's just me.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting too is I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, indie video games were those crappy Flash games that I used to play all the time when I was supposed to be doing my homework at school.
Mm-hmm.
And now indie games are like, then they went to like NES and SNES type indie games. Now people are doing stuff with Unreal, making like indie remakes of like Mario 64 and Sonic games and stuff like that. So it's not unreasonable to think that as technology progresses, people might be able to conceivably make, like by the time we're, 20 years from now or less, maybe 10 years from now, maybe it's possible for people to make more indie 32-bit era games. Like we're in an 8-bit renaissance, and even a 16-bit, remake, like love letter type thing. Like people are nostalgic for that. Maybe in another decade, people will be more nostalgic for 32-bit era, and maybe you'll see indie stuff from that. So as far as will people make indie stuff for the Saturn, that's tough still just because it's so hard to code for it. But will people make 32-bit indie stuff? That I could see happening.
You mean like actual just indie stuff on the Switch in a 32-bit style?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, for me, I agree with that, but like, what really, in your best words, what can you differentiate 8, 16, and 32-bit? You just mean like the physical graphics of it? Because I mean, okay, so Curse of the Blood Moon or whatever it's called, the new Castlevania spiritual successor game that came out. It looks awesome. It doesn't really look as crappy as 8-bit, but it doesn't really look as good as 16-bit. So it's like 12-bit, I guess, if that's what they were kind of.
The Blood Moon one that you're talking about.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, Shovel Knight's kind of similar in that respect. Like it's in the style of 8-bit, but you could.
But it looks better than 8-bit.
It would never be able to run on. It's too advanced. Like
right.
Yeah.
So as far as like a 32-bit game goes, I mean, for me, like I don't even know why. Like let's say, Street Fighter, for example. To me, I like playing the older Street Fighters with the sprites versus the actual like polygon characters myself. That's how I like the fighting games. I like are the sprite-based ones, not the polygon ones.
True.
So I don't know why.
Well, unless it's a 3D game, of course. But yeah, for 2D games, yes.
Well, right. But so like for Street Fighter, for me, like I would still rather have those as sprite-based games. That's just me, though. Like have them like ultra amazing looking sprites. I think that would be kind of cool to see one day. But
it would. I think so too. Right. But making like a parallax scrolling Panzer Dragoon indie game type thing, like a 32-bit Panzer Dragoon indie game would be really cool. So that's what I would think.
Badass.
All right. So I guess that wraps it up. Anything else you guys want to throw in there? It's late for you guys, I know.
No, it's only 5:30.
Yeah, I just got to mow my lawn while there's still daylight.
Well, it's about to rain its ass off here. I was moving my car. That's where I went.
But hey, I just want to say I really love you guys. I appreciate it. I liked the podcast. I liked arguing with you guys a little bit, and I hope it was all in good fun. And hope everybody in the comments knows that. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I think this is something that everyone enjoyed. I'm looking forward to this becoming more of a regular thing with the three of us because watching you guys go back and forth is entertaining.
We squabble like brothers. It's pretty fun.
It is always it is always entertaining to go back and forth with him.
Yeah, but DGC is a great guy. He's very generous. He's got a big heart, and he's very sincere about his love for video games. And one of the things I admire about him is he hates haters. It doesn't matter what system it is. If you're hating on it, he's like, no, stop that. He's like a console SJW.
Kind of, because like I love them all, but I do. Nintendo is still at the top of the pyramid, but I still love them all. I really do.
Yeah. Maybe you're more like a social justice wizard than a warrior, because it's.
Yeah. I don't want to be an SJW, but yeah, I don't know. I love all the consoles equally. I really do.
True.
That's how I don't understand how people can be in this one camp of only liking one over the other, or only liking one instance that they would never even touch the other. Because I know a lot of people that are either PlayStation or Xbox diehards, and they would never touch the other console. And I'm like, you're really hurting yourself in the end because you're not able to experience all the great games that are coming out. Like if you're a gamer, to me, and I think you guys are on the same wavelength, but if you call yourself a gamer, you play the games. You don't care about the platform that's on.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, I mean, I rarely play games on the PC, right? But like, I know StarCraft 2 is good. I know that there are some games that come out exclusively on the PC too that I'm still going to want to play. So I do have a PC for when those times happen.
Man, let's get StarCraft 2 on the Switch. We got StarCraft 1 on the 64.
So one idea
on the Wii U. Use the gamepad.
That would have been amazing. That was one idea. That and Diablo on the Wii U, man. They would have been amazing, both of them.
Yeah.
They both would have been great on the Wii U.
Because I heard there's a rumor that they're already working on Diablo 4 dropping. They're going to tease it at E3. That's stuff I've heard, and I'm like, I don't know.
Doubt it, because between 2 and 3, there was a huge wait. I mean, it was like a decade, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's next? Shenmue HD?
I mean, they're still kind of milking Diablo 3, really, at this point. They're still making DLC for it.
Next, you're going to say Shenmue 3 is going to come out.
So, as soon as they announced the remasters, I knew they were going to delay it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to, though, because people need a year to be able to play the HD games and feel caught up, because otherwise
so
they're not going to
want to play 3. This is something I'm curious about. Did they fix the controls for the remasters, or are they going to?
Oh, yeah. For the remasters, you have the option between modern and classic controls.
Okay, because so those controls are really just they're not doing it for me.
They take some time to get used to.
They're just bad.
The gameplay is not motion first, it's eyes first. That's why it was called free reactive eyes entertainment. You look around with your eyes and you move towards what you're looking at. It's kind of weird. It's not very intuitive at first, but you get it after a while.
I mean, I understand why they did it that way. It was because of limitations is why they did it. But I'm used to 16 years of having a right analog stick on my games. So like, I want to have that in that game. You know what I mean? That's just what I'm used to, having camera controls.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for being on this podcast. And I would love to do this again. This is fun.
This was a lot of fun. I like that we picked 2 topics to keep the podcast to 1 hour, and it still didn't work.
I kind of figured that would happen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Everyone who's watching, thank you for watching this podcast. Thank you for being in the chat. Everyone that's in the chat, from Liquid Metal, Den Avery, Derek 64, Nintendo Millennial, and more. Thank you guys for coming through and watching. All of you who will be listening and playing this later on a later stream, or listening to it on iTunes or Google Play Music, which it'll be uploaded to later on today. I want to thank you guys for being with the podcast. We made it to 33 episodes. Support has been overwhelming, and I just want to thank you all. You guys are amazing. Shout out to the sponsors, IP Vanish, and I guess you could say CyberPower PC, since they sent me a computer. I guess you could say that they sponsored it too. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you go and subscribe to everyone's channels. Everyone's links is down in the description below for Deck Game Collector or DGC. His description or his links to his Twitter and also to his YouTube channel is down there. So make sure you subscribe and ding the bell. Same thing for Segalacious of Also Jiggly. If you want, you can go ahead and tell them about your channel, because it's hosted by you and your brother, right?
Yeah, it is. My brother is Also Jiggly. We both make content for the channel as a way to keep in touch, because he lives across the country from me. He lives about 2,000 miles away. So we do it as a way to keep in touch. He gets pretty busy because he works night shift and stuff. So usually I make most of the content. And lately I've been too busy with work, but I'm about to go on vacation. So I'll be able to make more content. So yeah, it confuses people that I'm Segalacious, but I'm on the channel Also Jiggly, because we run the channel together. So
yeah. So make sure you guys subscribe. Links to their channel is down in the description below. So, and also make sure you ding that notification bell because YouTube has been acting funny lately, especially with this whole controversy with the subscriber or was it subscription feed? I believe there have been some controversy with that. But other than that, thank you all for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.